to get inside of
Take
the
a
hall.
moment and enjoy the peace. It won't last for long.
So this right here is the shooter. And like, honestly, fast as fuck, boy. Look at him. Damn, he got a Sonic the Hedgehog. Look at that. Damn, bro, look at that. Get the security shut. And it's an average day. Everything's totally fine. Things are good. CBS lead anchor. Oh, I see. He doesn't even, the gunshots go up. He doesn't even blink.
Ancestral sword!
Yeah, there he goes. And this is J.D. Vance. Here we go. And you see, bro, like, they get his ass out, or he's gone. These guys in like 1 second. Video of the alleged shooter. So this is the guy on the ground. Here we go. Then they got him on the 10-4. They obviously did get his ass, right? Not a big surprise. The photos just posted by Donald Trump here show the suspect identified as Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old teacher from California on the ground. RFK seen not ducking for cover. Just sitting there. So they checked in on him, right? They looked in on him. Pops, are you okay? Yeah, it was crazy. Bobby's security came in so fast and took us out of the building. They were lifting me over chairs. His dad's new phone. I'm really hungry. And you can see how this happened, right? Because they were bringing out the food. And so everybody was about to start eating. And then this shit happens. So yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, let's go to McDonald's. Well, no, you can't go to McDonald's. You can't do this. New footage. Oh, this is so fucking funny, dude. Dana White. He's like, holy shit, was I there for this?
And there was a thing to get down. I didn't get down. There was one to the office. I literally never had to come in.
So this is from 2017. This is the guy that was the shooter.
Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
Yeah.
The wheelchair brake turns to walk the wheels, but don't actually walk the chair to the ground. The idea with this prevented from moving out.
Really sad to see somebody with such a selfless idea to turn into a nutball. I think that's sad.
Well, thank you very much. That was very unexpected.
How does this event impact you as the leader of our country? Do you think it would change?
I like not to think about it. Pretty normal life. The dangerous life. I think I handled it well as it can be handled. I think a lot of other people, when you rejoice, when they become basket cases, I'm not a basket case. I take it, really take it as it is. I just feel it.
Imagine this is the third public assassination attempt, and you just go up and you're like, it is what it is.
I study assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at Abraham Lincoln, and you go through
Ancestral sword!
Literally, fucking, what is this, 30 minutes after they tried to kill him?
they don't go after the ones that don't do much. I hate to say I'm honored by that, but
This was really bad.
Tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I love it. She's right. She was right. Yeah, she was. Oh my God. No, this game was crazy. This game popped the fuck off.
There's nothing that I love more than watching a 60-person indie team absolutely body a company get burned. 10 years, 400 developers, $500 million trying to achieve the exact same thing. Quadruple A gaming, Ubisoft. One of the most interesting things that I think I've seen over the past couple of years is how often the games industry will just let opportunities pass them by. Some of the most obvious opportunities pass them by. I'm talking about free money, free engagement, free players, gamers that are telling these guys exactly what they want in full detail, but blinded by their arrogance, the industry just walks in the opposite direction. Windbreak.
I think it's funny is that the fact is that like a true developer will not give the players what they want. Because like if you listen to what the players wanted with Elden Ring, it would have been way harder. But they made the game at a low baseline, so that way anybody could play it. A great developer will be able to listen to what players want and turn it into what players need. A terrible developer won't do either one.
Once again,
They'll
the
just make the
Vampire
characters
King is
non-binary.
defeated, and
Has
the
been
darkness
absolutely
has been
dominating.
banished.
The players keep going up, the sales keep going up, people are loving it, and I view this as like one of the most obvious successes, one of the most just
huge.
handed on a silver platter
Gigantic.
successes that we've
Massive.
seen in years, but a lot of people are caught surprised by it. What? How could this have happened?
Can you believe that they made a good game and people played the game? How could this happen?
How could the thing that players have been asking for been the thing that they wanted? Who would have guessed? You have games journalists that are out there that are talking about
Yeah.
it, how it's a surprise indie hit, saying that this game just essentially came out of nowhere. You got a games industry that would have never looked in the direction of a game like this. And I'm sitting here wondering how anybody could have thought that this was anything but inevitable at this point. This game sold 500,000 copies in its first 2 days.
Because it's
Wow,
good.
what a surprise. No. Players were asking for it. You weren't listening.
People
So
have
today-
wanted a proper pirate game ever since Black Flag. And Sea of Thieves is too gamey and too cartoony for it to give you that authentic, like, gritty pirate experience that I think people want. So people have been waiting on this for a bit. For
Hey,
a while.
I want to talk about why the games industry was caught by surprise
The
when it
Atlas,
comes to
remember Atlas?
Windrose. I want to talk about, well, why the players
Not
actually
good.
saw this game from a mile away and how I think games like this are exactly how this industry gets replaced. But before that, a word from today's sponsor, Displate, who actually sent over a custom Displate of my very own.
Sea of Thieves
and
says
I
no
wanted to
content
show it
progression?
off to
Yeah,
you
exactly.
guys today.
Was a
How about that?
We got one of
Today's
those.
video is sponsored by Displate, and by now you guys already know the deal. These guys have been a regular on the channel for a reason. This time, I want to talk to you guys about
When
custom
they say stick these to a flat surface, they mean it. Trust me.
displays because I think this is one of
Trust
the
me.
coolest things that they offer. You can upload your own images and you can turn it into a high
You think
quality
it's gonna
metal
be okay, it
poster,
won't
which
be.
is actually the really easy way to be able to make your space feel a little bit more personal, whether it's personal artwork or artwork you like, a favorite screenshot, a photo, or just something stupid that you and your friends keep laughing at. You can turn it into something
Yeah.
that actually looks good on your wall. And if for whatever reason
looks
you're new
fucking
here and you
badass.
haven't heard me
God
talk
damn.
about them before, Displate makes high
Wow.
quality metal posters that mount magnetically, no tools, no wall damage, no annoying setup. You just stick a magnet to the wall, line it up, and you're done. Super easy to swap out too.
Flat surface.
So if you're
guys.
interested, go ahead and check out the millions of designs that they already have on offer, or go ahead and use a design of your own. Just go to displate.com and use my code legendary at checkout to get the best deal. Thank you to
Fucked them up,
Displate
huh?
for
Yeah, I did.
sponsoring today's video. You know, for all the complaining that I do about the games industry, I think the reason why it gets under my skin so much is because I just cannot stand watching somebody leave the front door wide open and just watching their customers just walk right out, especially in the games industry where they have to be the most easiest audience to be able to sell to. These guys will tell you everything that they want. Well, yes, I know that not every single customer is going to say the exact same thing. I get that.
Pretty much like, guys, do you want to have a boarding process where you get on the other ship? Would you rather have it to be where your character, swings over on a rope or a cutscene? Ooh, we're gonna have to ask the gamers about this.
But when you have enough of these guys that are saying the same thing, when they're asking for the same thing, and they're also spending their money
So
the same
obvious.
way, I think it becomes pretty obvious where the problem is. And man, indie
Yeah.
games, they are more than happy to take those complaints off your hands. Actually, the
Well,
producer of Windrose
One of the
laid
reasons why they're indie games probably because they had the same complaints. That's probably
this
why.
contrast out earlier this month in an interview with Automaton, where they were asked how the game had started as a free-to-play MMO and then later shifted to a buy-to-play survival game, and what had motivated that change. The producer, Phil, had said that the game was always going to be survival-focused, but they weren't sure that they would be able to handle the costs or the ambition with live service. And more importantly, he then went and said the one thing that I think the games industry is apparently allergic to hearing, which
What's
is
this?
the players wanted something else. Quoting him directly, he said, "More importantly, it seems that the majority of players who were attracted to the game initially preferred to have it this way too, a buy-to-play PvE adventure. We are very happy that the players' requests and our own vision overlapped here."
I think that you want to have a server where people can go and maybe play have ship battles or something like that. Like, making netcode and, like, servers that you're able to run and do that is really cool. But at the end of the day, there are already a lot of multiplayer games out there. Like, I think that there is becoming a growing desire for single-player games. And the reason why is that they don't expire. Like, a lot of multiplayer games expire. Like, whenever I play Marvel Rivals yesterday, for example, I get good at the game, I quit playing, that power and that experience expires. Like, that's it. No need for any other rust. Exactly, yes. MMO multiplayer fatigue, exactly, yeah.
That is a massive choice for any
I'm all
project
in
to
on
make, and it
single-player
mirrors
games.
Crimson Desert almost perfectly in this case, because both of these games were initially aiming at that live service MMO territory, but then both of them pivoted away from that, and both of them ended up doing the one thing the games industry is pretending is the most terrifying gamble ever, listening to players and selling them a premium game that they actually wanted, and in both cases, that decision paid off. I would have never done that. Windrose launched into early access on April 14th. It sold 500,000 copies in its first 2 days, and then it just kept climbing. The player count kept going up, the sales kept going up. The game pushed past 220,000 concurrent players on Steam. Hit 1 million copies sold in under a week, and now it looks like it's on pace to be able to crush those numbers by the time this game reaches its full release in the next year or so, because, man, what a game they made. You guys already know how much I enjoy early access games. There is something, I don't really know exactly what it is. It's just something that's really charming about playing these.
Here's what I love about early access games is it is I was born too early to explore the world or to explore the space. I was born too late to explore the world, but I was born just in time to explore a world made in a survival game that there's not 50,000 YouTube tutorials. When you discover and you find something in a new video game like this, there is a sense of actual discovery where it's not something that is on like 50 different strategy guides. It's not explained in 10 different ways. One of the coolest things about like Crimson Desert, for example, was that you had everybody collectively exploring and discovering all these features and cool things in the game together as a community. And I think that early access games have that. And that's the reason why people like them. Rather than things that have like a million fucking beta points and releases and everything like that. Enshrouded to a full release this year? I'm waiting for it. I was downloading Enshrouded like 2 weeks ago while I was banned. I was going to play it, but I'm waiting for it.
Games in their earliest stage. When it's a little unbalanced, maybe a little bit wonky, probably a lot of wonky in some cases, and you're getting to throw feedback into the mix before everything is locked in. That's supposed to be the whole point of early access. The period where these developers should be the most open to feedback because, well, it's when the game is still taking good shape. But I'm just going to be straight up with you guys. Windrose has to be one of the most polished early access games that I have played outside of the usual monsters like Slay the Spire or Hades.
You got to keep in mind too that they already did a demo on the game, and a lot of the Windrose has a few nuts and bolts problems, but overall the combat is good. It's passable. Like, is it like it's definitely not up to snuff in terms of like an action combat game. Like every action combat game is basically better than Windrose, but you know they're working on it, and that's good.
This game has pretty much everything that you would want out of a survival game, and it just goes even further with that with its pirate fantasy. The base building is so intuitive and flexible. It kind of reminds me of the Evox in a lot of ways, so it's not nearly as involved in that. The exploration is packed with a ton of stuff for you to be able to find. You have hidden objectives, boss out, dungeons, caves, hidden chests, world defense, all kinds of different things to do. It has actual build diversity. You can find different weapons, weapon effects, and rare weapons, and gear sets, and a bunch of different ways to upgrade, craft, buy, and build out your character. There are reputation systems, pirates, and smuggling factions, bounties, main quests, side quests, and on top of all of that, this game has some of the best naval combat that I think we've seen in Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
This definitely has aura. It does. Man.
I think the best way that I can describe why so many
I think that the naval combat in the game, they have to add a couple more, like for example, using the boluses in order to disable the sails doesn't really have a lot of functional value, like towards the, like maybe you do that on like the first 2 ships, but there's not really a lot of value that creates. So I think that like basically like they have so many options that they can go with because they have a really strong foundation, like a great foundation for the game.
People have connected with this game on such a broad scale is because Windrose is still a game that was made by people who have been dressing up like Jack Sparrow every single Halloween for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
This is not a game with a pirate
I'm
skin.
gonna be honest, like you know who it's really made for?
Ancestral sword!
I'm gonna show you right here. We're gonna go a little bit before. And there it is. It's made for every fucking guy that would play this. Which turns out to be a lot of guys.
The peace. It won't last for
A
long.
tremendously large amount of men.
Now,
That's right.
who's the real monster?
And if you go and you looked at like whenever this game came out, besides like the VTubers and shit, almost every guy playing it is all men with beards.
This is not a game this is a game made by people who are fully bought. It feels like it's made by people who really love pirate shit, really love video games, and then just manage to smash those two
Pirate
things
Maxim?
together in
Yeah.
just the right way. Whether it's the art style, whether it's sailing across the water, whether it's the sound design, the playlist of absurdly good sea shanties that are on the ship that
Yeah,
I
really
could just
good.
never turn off, or the Souls-adjacent combat that they put in, where even a level 1 board can just send you into the Shadow Realm.
That's right.
This game just keeps delivering because none of it feels fake. None of it feels like it's some type of hollow marketing angle. All of this feels genuine. I feel that, the players feel that, and that's exactly why this game has been doing so well. A lot of people were asking for a game like this. These developers showed up and they answered that call,
Yep.
and the players showed up for it immediately. The rest of the industry somehow didn't see this coming. Maybe it's just
It's
me. Maybe
almost like if you make a game that just simply caters to players' interests, people will buy the game if they're interested in that kind of a game. I know.
Maybe I'm just living in my own little bubble and the algorithm just isn't feeding me what it's supposed to, but I thought it was really
Yeah.
strange how games media was kind of silent when this game dropped. There was some
They
demo
always
coverage,
are.
some light demo coverage at the very beginning, mostly from smaller outlets, but once the full game hit and it started exploding, the response to this felt weirdly muted for whatever reason. And that only really stood out to me as the days went on because this game was selling like crazy. It was pulling huge player numbers. It was sitting in the top 5 most played games on Steam for
Yep.
almost an entire week, and the coverage still barely matched what was happening outside of
No,
Kotaku.
it's not even people talking about how to play the game either. Like, I was looking for, like, videos and stuff about this for the game. Like, there's a lot of videos on YouTube, but, like, there's no articles written, like, you know, this is the way the game plays. Like, it is nothing. It's so crazy.
Calling the game a surprised hit, which from my perspective, it's only a surprise if you're not paying attention, but most of
wrong
these
with
bigger
AAA?
outlets,
What's wrong with AAA? They've been infested by a bunch of identity-driven retards that should never have been able to, they probably should never be allowed to use a computer, period, right? Just to do everybody a favor. Like, that's my opinion. That's the problem that I think that there is. And I think that they lowered the quality of the people. Like, basically, you had executives and, like, you know, finance people fire all of the big dicks, and they replaced them with losers. And a lot of those losers were hired through discriminatory hiring practices that basically created openings for people that were subpar that should never be working there. It should be at McDonald's. And so now you have a bunch of people where it's like the ship of Theseus, but every other ship is balsa wood and the ship's sinking. And there's one fucking piece of plywood there, and they're like, oh, look, see, it's the same. No, it's not. That's what's happening.
really didn't move on this until after the game had already crossed 1 million copies sold. Once it did,
And you can listen to the develop. If you listen to like Jeff Kaplan or like I'm trying to think like any of the other like original WoW devs or any developer of like Chris Wilson from PoE, they talk about video games on like a deeper psychological level that is a lot bigger than just simply killing the dragon. Kevin Jordan. Remember we had Kevin Jordan on All Correct?
Dracula,
And like this is like listening to like it's like okay, wait a minute, let me write that down, right? Like that's there's a level of understanding that whenever you listen to like the newest AAA, wow, this game's so good, it's gonna be garbage. you listen to them talk about their game, it's like they're talking about a Marvel movie they've seen.
Take a
But these
moment
other
and
guys, they
enjoy
talk
the
about the
peace.
emotional, the psychological,
last for
the
long.
you know, like the structuring of like the way the world looks. Like everything matters in a way that is considered by everything else. And there are small developers that are able to do that now, and that's why they're able to bring these projects to life and succeed on such a huge level. That's the reason why. You're talking to a wizard, right? Yeah, you talk to these guys and you realize that you're talking to a wizard. Like, this is a guy with 30 years of experience. Like, think about, like, how much you wouldn't understand from talking to somebody who has, like, 30 years of electricity experience, right? They're, like, explaining circuit voltages. That's what it feels like talking to these guys.
Well, then it became impossible to ignore, and we started seeing the gamer article, the IGN write-ups, and the reviews in progress. All this stuff coming after the audience had already made this story obvious to them. And I think that says a lot about how out of step games media has become with the people that are actually buying and playing these games. But honestly, I really didn't take much notice of this, and the disconnect really didn't hit me too hard until I started looking at Dan's trailers. And I saw that IGN's upload was sitting at 245,000 views. Wow. Which I felt was really low for a game like this. But then I started scrolling down a little bit further, and I saw that Asmongold's reaction was sitting near 1 million views. And
Holy shit, this game. Holy shit, this is the game. And then I wish I played the entire fucking thing. It was in fact the game.
this is a lot more than just good streamer is getting views. It's a lot worse than that. This is an issue. It's not that much of an issue for us. It's definitely an issue for them. But the issue is, one guy in a room reacting to a trailer is feeling a lot more relevant and a lot more worth listening to than an entire media machine that is supposed to be built around covering people. This is what it looks like when the conversation no longer involves the player. This is what it looks like when these guys are on the outside.
The press has alienated the public, and they've also alienated the developers. The press trying to interject their own viewpoints into media, and also use media to push their viewpoints, I think has alienated a lot of developers. And I think the other issue is that the things that they focus on, like, for example, like, you know how, like, there was a Kotaku was, like, talking about, like, you know, or Polygon talking about, like, pirating Nintendo games? Like, when you're openly advocating for stealing the games and the products and the people that you're trying to have give you credit and give you credibility, like, yeah, that's not going to work.
The other thing that I took notice of too is that nearly all the coverage over the past week has gone to Pragmata, which, to be fair, it is an incredible game. I absolutely love it. But Windrose sold the same route, at least so far. It's just a spot that maybe even more popular in some cases. And still, it felt like this game had to claw its way into the conversation. And I think part of that is coming out of the fact that Windrose is not really giving these guys the kind of angle that they like to run with. They can't squeeze out headlines about how Pragmata Twitchy mode is a dog whistle, or write another piece about how they're tired of, quote, seeing men protecting little girls to prove their masculinity. So instead of getting in front of Windrose, instead of recognizing it for what it was when it was happening, they waited. The players are the ones that forced these guys to respond. Yeah. They didn't support it. They reacted to it. And the more obvious these successes start looking at
And I
players...
think that he's totally right about this, by the way. He's completely right. Is that what happens is that the media doesn't want to... The games that the media loves are games that reinforce the media. They don't really love video games. They love their role inside of video games. And you'll notice this whenever you start paying attention to it.
The more they find them first, the worse this industry looks for not
It's the same as a Netflix.
so much of that feels. Now, while I'm sure some of this has likely something to do with the fact that these guys are not getting review copies of these games, or the access they're really not going to get that, but it does go to prove that the less access they get, the less likely you are to be able to get in the cover. And, you know, in the background over the years, I've been talking to a lot of people that are in game media, happening in the games industry. A lot of these guys will tell me straight up, the reason things look like this is because, well, a lot of this stuff is in the editor's hands, even if they bring them stories, breaking news that they find, games that are breaking out or whatever it might be, they just won't run it because the priority is AAA before anything else unless something comes along and forces them to pivot. Basically, it has to be something that's making the biggest...
It's corpo. Like, the whole thing is corpo. It's basically a corporate circle. Like, I find this to be so problematic. You can't go play Windrose, you can't play Artful, that's why. Yeah, right? And, like, honestly, the game is really good. And like, yeah, they're built around shilling and pushing corporate games because, and here's the reason why. The reason why they want to shill and push corporate games is because corporate games have a symbiotic relationship with them. Corporate games give them privileges, and then they give privileges to the corporate games. That's the problem.
A splash for these guys to be able to take notice of. And none of it's organic. None of it's based on it. None of it has anything to do with what players are talking about or what players are interested in. In a lot of cases, these guys are just ignoring. That is not a good way to do business. That is definitely not a good way to do journalism. I'll tell you that right now. But, you know, I also think the other problem that these guys are running into, especially when it comes to general relevance at this point, is that with how indie games have been taking over the games industry, games media is just not built to be able to follow them. They don't get the early access. They don't get a lot of access to begin with. They're basically on even footing as the players, and because they're not listening to the audience, they're always a mile behind them. You know, I didn't really take notice of all this until over the last week. I was like, man, Guatemala is all over the news. And a lot of this stuff is also more clickbait more than anything. Yeah. So I reached out to a couple of writers, and these guys were saying straight up, oh yeah, we're trying to squeeze water to this company. None of it's what is the point? What? You know, this also makes me think that, like, this is not just a media issue, this is an industry-wide issue. You're seeing
I think it is a mass media issue collectively. I think it's a media issue with TV shows. It's a media issue with movies, with anime. It's a media issue inside of politics as well. And as you have media becoming more democratized and you have the barrier to entry into media that is being basically evaporated, disappeared, now you have anybody who's able to go out and make a movie. You have anybody who's able to go out and, you know, be a journalist like Nick Shirley or somebody like that. So whenever there's no barrier to entry, these people can't rely on institutional advantages that they've inherited. They have to actually earn their place. And the reality is they don't want to have to do that. It's hard to do that. So they would much rather, you know, try to reinforce institutional advantages, systematic advantages, so they don't have to compete with other people on an even playing field in a meritocracy. And that's the issue, is that the internet and media and information is becoming a meritocracy. And I think this is happening, and there are negatives with this, by the way, because it means misinformation is more powerful. But I would say that misinformation isn't really that much different than media's disinformation. But my point is that you have a lot of people now that are able to just get a message out there, and there's no noise in between, right? You can just immediately speak to people and have them listen to you. There's no middleman, there's no editor, there's no control. You can just do what you want to do and say what you want to say. And that has been absolutely destructive to media, because media is built around the idea that they have control over a narrative. And when they lose control over a narrative, number one, the first thing that you notice is that the control is there.
I knew you wouldn't give up easily. But now it's time to see if you're
That doesn't make sense. Why was information more powerful in a meritocracy? Can you explain that? Sure. It's because a meritocracy is fundamentally democratic, and the people are
I
retarded.
will find a way to break you.
insane disconnect between the audience and the industries at large. Because I think a game like this goes this way. That the people that are writing about games, selling games, and funding games have absolutely no clue what players are interested in or what they're actually playing. And when you have an industry that disconnected, eventually you're going to start leaving gaps. Big gaps. Like, I don't know, 200,000 views on a trailer versus a million views on a trailer. Or, in the case of the games industry, well, an entire market that's up for grabs.
Well, it's also like another thing is that a lot of people that follow me like the type of games that I like. So they know that if I review a game or I talk about a game positively like that, it's probably going to have X, Y, and Z. And I think that's the reason why people watch me. And they want to, because basically like a magazine or like a publication doesn't have like a taste, but an individual does. So if you can find an individual with your tastes, then you'll probably be able to find other games that they like that you'll discover as well. And I think that's what's happened, right? Is that like there's like streamers that, for example, when I see them playing a game, I think to myself, oh, okay, I'm gonna start playing that game too. I bet it's a good game.
Now, I don't think of Windrose as just another hit game. I use it as one of the clearest examples that we've seen in years of an industry that's just been completely left wide open for anybody else to take. I mean, I think that demand for a game like this is more than obvious. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which for a lot of people, they view it as the peak of the franchise, that came out back in 2013. And by 2026, Ubisoft had said that game had reached 34 million players. Now, in this case, I'm actually going to give Ubisoft a little bit of credit here and say that number is probably not all that far off from the actual copies they moved, because
I bet Black Flag is going to have a success and it's been out for 10 years. Video games sell a lot of copies towards their tail end. Like the majority of sales happen early on, but you know, you go out in 10 years and you're going to see a lot of copies sold.
Well, the game did sell 11 million copies in its first year.
That's
Notice how they still used copies
crazy.
sold back then. Sea of Thieves announced 40 million players across all platforms back in 2024. I mean, pirate games have always kind of been a big thing for a lot of survival games have been used for years. It's been one of the most popular genres in gaming, so a survival pirate game kind of feels like it's one of the most obvious combinations possible right now. Which raises the question, why the hell is the indie studio the one that's leading the charge instead of the AAA companies that were in a perfect position to be able to do so? Well, as you probably guessed it's because those companies have spent years trying to tell their players what they want, or
AAA companies are too big. They're completely bogged down by administration and by HR and by useless daycare jobs that those people, you should just fire them. Like, not only are they useless, but they actually make things worse. Like, it's like you have more people in a boat, and then eventually the boat sinks. The graph, yeah, exactly. I was thinking about the graph, right? Administration and, like, logistics and things like that, like managerial roles, are overwhelming.
They're using data analysts to try to predict what they think that they want instead of actually just paying attention to what the audience is actually asking for. Ubisoft is a perfect example. In my eyes, they were the king of pirate games with Black Flag. They set the standard in a lot of cases, and they clearly saw interest when they made that game. But instead of giving players more of what they actually wanted or building on that foundation in a meaningful way, these idiots tried to force a square peg through a round hole with Skull and Bones, the first quadruple A live service game, one of the most aggressively monetized games in recent memory.
I heard that this game got released because of some pressure from like the Singaporean government, and it actually had nothing to do with them actually wanting to release it, and it was like a very weird development hell that they got put inside of, and basically everything went wrong for tax reasons. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I mean, I'm not justifying it, but what I'm saying is that there were a lot of secondary, like, effects that caused this game to be bad that didn't have anything to do with the development team specifically.
And, well, it was a pirate game that locks players into naval combat only, and still somehow manages to screw that up. The naval combat in Black Flag is so much better than Skull and Bones that it genuinely doesn't even make any sense to actually take it. Now, to Ubisoft's credit, and I can't believe I'm saying that twice in one video, they do seem to be seeing the light a little bit. Yeah. Guys, I think one of these companies might actually be working. Even I'll say that the Black Flag remake looks like it's shaping up really well. If you don't look at the trailer too closely, you realize how cartoonish and wonky some of the animations look, and also take too long to think about that it's also being made by the same people that made Skull and Bones, but that's neither here nor there. But
surely there's not going to be only 5 NPC types that you fight for the entire duration of the complete game. Surely there's going to be more than that. Surely strongholds won't be defined by their level and they'll actually have different types of encounters. Surely there's no way they're going to do that, right?
Man, I just want to say, look at what it takes for these guys to be able to answer player demand. Either you're going to get a soulless live service mess, or you're going to get a remake of a game that came out over a decade ago. And I think a lot of their problems, a lot of the industry's problems is coming down to not only these guys just not being able to read the room, but also how absurdly slow they are to move when demand is right in front of them. You guys know that Windrose was supposed to be an MMO, and then they just turned on a dime. Within a year, they shifted to a premium survival game because they saw what players were asking for. They also saw live service games fall.
That's what happened with Crimson Desert, too.
Falling on their face all over the place, and they made the right call. It paid off for these guys. The wider industry just seems incapable of learning from the people that are doing it better than them right now. They can't learn from these indies. They can't learn from the past that built their own companies, and they just keep steering straight into icebergs like it's something that they can't avoid. It's like these guys are convinced that we are the ones that are wrong, and eventually we are going to come crawling back to them. I mean, hell, as I'm saying this right now, Xbox is turning the canceled Halo Battle Royale that they were making. Halo now is going to be an extraction shooter.
It's like they probably wanted to make a Halo Battle Royale in like 2019, but they realized that by 2024, the trend is over. So now in 2025 or 6, they want to make a extraction shooter. So by the time that it's 2030 and it's done, well, then the shift will happen again, and they're going to have to remake the game again. Like, it's just, it's embarrassing. Who the fuck wants that? Nobody. I think you should have a mode like this. It's a great idea, but it shouldn't be the focus of the focus of the game. Like, I'm a big supporter of a Halo Battle Royale, but I think that this should not be the main focus.
These guys just won't stop hitting themselves. You know, honestly, now that I think about it, I don't even think the problem is the genres these guys are chasing. I don't think that it's pirate games or extraction shooters or survival games or anything else on paper. I honestly think the real problem is just there's no authentic desire behind anything these guys are making. Like, I can already hear some of these executives at Ubisoft going like, oh man, what the hell? Why is Windrose doing so well when we made a pirate game too? Question mark, question mark. The answer...
I bet the guys that work at Ubisoft that are not morons know exactly why that happened. I bet they know just as well as we do. Probably better. It's the same as, like, I bet over at, like, Nintendo, when Pal World came out, I guarantee you there was some fucking executive at Nintendo that slammed down a sheet of papers and said, I told you they wanted this. I told you this. Why can't we just do... Why can't you do this? And yeah, you're going to go out and sue them later on and say, oh, well, you can't do this. You can't steal our stuff. Yeah, sure, right? I get it. But actually... You wish you had done this yourself.
Is so simple. Windrose was trying to deliver an experience that the player values, while Ubisoft was trying to deliver an experience that increased their value. And those two things only drift this far apart when the company's bottom line matters a hell of a lot more than the game or the customer. Windrose delivers on a fantasy. It's not chasing a trend. It's not trying to reverse engineer engagement or anything like that. It's just a well-made game, even in early access. A lot better than a lot of games, that was sold at a fair price. Players are going to connect with that a hell of a lot more than they're going to connect with a game that's asking whether or not they want to spend $50 on premium currency so that they can change the color of their ship cannons. Like, how do these guys not...
Can you do that? Is that real? That's not real, right?
See this.
There's no way
and
that's
I
real.
think this is how they lose the industry. Not in one big dramatic moment where we're all going to...
Everyone, I will need help at 0 cooldown. And they have a Punisher. That's my bad. I'm brain dead.
Nice freeze.
Thank you.
Good feeling.
I'm stunning. Funny.
So this right here is the shooter. And, like, honestly, fast as fuck, boy. Look at him. Damn. Damn, bro. Cosmetic security. Bro. And, like, honestly, fast as fuck, boy. Look at him. Damn. Damn, bro. Cosmetic security. Jesus, look at that. Oh, my God. He hit him with the Naruto run. You got Sonic the Hedgehog. Look at that. Damn, bro. Look at that. Woo. Going real quick.
was
Yeah, the
just to
security
reclaim
shut. Yeah,
my
they're like,
city.
what the fuck?
You call yourselves New
Honestly,
York's
all of these guys
guardians.
should be fucking fired.
Now is the
Like, are
time
you
to
kidding
prove
me?
it.
Like, how do you have a guy run by you and you're like, oh, wow, oops. Oh, geez, you're not even looking at him. And I
Take a
show
moment
speed.
and
Yeah, bro,
enjoy
look
the
at this.
breeze.
That's fuck.
It won't last
Yeah, so
for
anyway,
long.
he just bolts through there, has this shit happen, right? And what a
Such
lunatic. I
remarkable
know,
power.
what a lunatic.
hope
And
you
so
put it
anyway,
to good
Washington
use
Times,
for
what is
once.
this? And
Those
so
monsters
shots fired. Okay, so here we go.
Time to see if you're the
So this
hero
is
you
him
say.
talking to some girl. Here we go. Right? Some girl, I don't know her name. She's a journalist, I think. Yeah, and it's an average day. Everything's totally fine. Things are good. CBS lead anchor. Oh, I see. He doesn't even. The gunshots go off. He doesn't even blink. Oh my god. And here we go. Yeah, and there he goes.
These vigilantes never surrender.
Oh boy. And so, and the best part about it was this guy. He doesn't sit down, he just sits there and he's just eating.
A hero at their peak. I hate to admit it, but I'm impressed.
Doesn't give a fuck,
More
man.
vampires have arrived.
And so anyway, I guess like, I mean, whenever you get to be like 80, it's like, I mean, damn. It's gotta happen sometime, right? All right. Well, this could be it. It's what it is. I'm old anyway. Yep, that's right. Yeah, what's another day? And yeah, anyway, other man, you're suffering. And so anyway, yeah, all this shit happens. I'm so focused on eating this. Yeah, this guy. You see the president's duck down?
Another less than noble sacrifice.
Just a quick little bite. Man. So as soon as you went offline, this happened? Yeah, I know. He was probably watching my stream, and then as soon as I went offline, he's like, okay, all right. Let's go. Let's get this done. All right, let's see. What's the next one? Video of the alleged shooter. So this is the guy on the ground. Here we go. Audio's fucked. Give me a minute, actually. Let me go ahead and just do this again and get it lined up. And he didn't read the script? Yeah, obviously. And they don't have a, he doesn't have a Twitch account as far as I know. So this is him. Yeah.
These vigilantes never surrender.
Nothing I can do or too much time, I guess so. Have they not hit him after firing 2 times? I have no idea. I wonder if he got to finish his meal. Yeah, he probably will. It probably took me like an hour to get everybody out of there, realistically. So they got him in the tinfoil. There it is. Man.
These vigilantes never surrender.
Man. So there it is. They obviously did get his ass, right?
Such
Not a big surprise.
power.
And I hate to.
Put it to good use for
looks like
once.
Leon. Holy shit,
Another wave
guys!
incoming.
Holy! Like, are you kidding me? It looks like fucking. Yeah, look at that. Like for a second, I thought it was. I did. Now you can tell it's not, because E-Rob, I think, is balding on the top here, and this guy isn't. But, you know, besides that, I thought it was him. And F-Fan's tweet, again, he tweeted it out. I think other people tweeted it out, too. Miz tweeted something about it. Like, it's very, very common. People tweeted something. Immediately, everybody that knew him tweeted it. It's really fucking funny. But anyway, the photos just posted by Donald Trump here to show the suspect identified as Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old teacher from California on the ground, surrounded by law enforcement officers at the Washington Hilton following the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So this is the goof boy that ended up getting shot, or ended up trying to shoot the president. And RFK seen not ducking for cover. Just sitting there. You know what? That's the man that cut a dick off a raccoon. You know what? I can believe that. Absolutely. Look at the comment. I know. Let me see if I can find the other ones, okay? And, yeah, right now. No, by the way, it's not a joke. That's not a joke. And, so they checked in on him, right? They looked in on him. Pops, are you okay? Yeah, it was crazy. Bobby's security team came in and took us, it came in so fast and took us out of the building. They were lifting me over chairs. His dad's new phone. I'm really hungry. And you can see how this happened, right? Because they were bringing out the food. And so everybody was about to start eating, and then this shit happens. So yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, let's go to McDonald's. Well, no, you can't go to McDonald's. He can't do that. And anyway, Masses, I'm too old for this. Yeah, as I said, I just there is a certain type of like anti-fragile boomer that is going to be very dearly missed. They will be. And like this is like my dad was like this. Like I'm driving him to the hospital. He has like fucking cancer, and he's saying, "Well, now they can blame you for killing me like they do your mom." I'm driving his old ass to the hospital. He's on oxygen. He's making jokes and shit. And so anyway, that's just what it was. Amazing. Yeah, and so that's funny as fuck. He was complaining about the nurse, and I told him that he had pancreatic cancer, and he got mad that I interrupted his story. He didn't give a fuck. It was what it was. That was it. Good argument for McDonald's being for Dash. Yeah, he was mad. He was really mad about that, honestly. He was pissed as fuck about it. How dare you? Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth called me walking through the ballroom. What is it?
These vigilantes never saw another less than noble sacrifice.
Yeah, there he is. And, take me, Chuck, son of a bitch. He looks pleased, pissed. Yeah, I'd be pissed too. It ruined the whole fucking day. Think about it. It ruins the whole fucking night. Wait, now, like, new footage. Oh, this is so fucking funny, dude. Dana White. Oh my fucking god.
These vigilantes never surrender. Another less than noble sacrifice.
He's like, holy shit, was I there for this?
Congratulations on surviving another round. Let's hope your luck continues to go.
Oh my god.
Vigilantes never surrender.
Is he dressed up like a trucker?
Now, you truly believe yourself my equal? Pathetic work. Hope you've still got some heroism left to you.
There he is, bro. Like, yeah. That's right.
Crimson Tempest.
And he's just...
Another less than noble sacrifice.
He's loving it. Oh my god. Hit mechanic Fetterman, yeah. Yeah, dude, this is just...
These vigilantes never surrender.
Oh my fucking god.
Another less than noble sacrifice.
Since Dan, I was really here for one of these, huh? I was. Oh, here, and here's another one.
Judge! Jury! Executioner!
I didn't get down. It was fucking awful. I literally took every minute of it in. And it was pretty crazy experience.
So you were on the aisle? What exactly did you see? Okay. Yeah, and what exactly happened? So someone got tackled or like what? Okay.
Someone died? No, yeah, top 10 best moments, yeah. Uh-huh.
So you didn't see any actual tackle yourself? Okay.
No, this is not, I honestly, I've had a gun pulled on me at least I might be thinking at least twice. One and a half of those times was on stream. And so, I call my dad, and I tell my dad, I say, Pa, I just had somebody pull a gun on me. He says, oh, that's great. Did you get it on stream? They're going to love it. And I'm like, yeah, but they didn't show the gun. He's like, well. It was like 2000 on 6th Street. It was like 7th or 8th Street, but yeah, or actually 3rd or 4th Street. But yeah, it was. And this was downtown. And Crazy Dude in the car. Well, there was that one. Yeah, that was the first time. There was another time. I don't know if that time there was a situation at an event venue. I think it's public. I'm not sure if it is. I'll check with somebody. And if it's public, I'll tell the story. I will. I'll tell the story about it. It was pretty crazy. It was. Yeah, it was a big deal. Maybe next time. Sorry. I don't want to make it public until, it was a... Do you guys know of any other story where there was like a shooter or a guy that went with a gun to like an event, like any streamer event? Emmer's announcement party? That was it. That's right. Okay. So then, all right. And if you just randomly guessed that, now I'm telling a story that I shouldn't have. Yes, that's what happened. There was a crazy guy who went over there, fucking rammed his truck or something into Miskif's car. NFL Madden convention. Yeah, I don't know about that one too. And so anyway, the guy is sitting and I remember why I just honestly the guy was out there with the gun. I was like, well, I'm just gonna go home. He's probably not gonna shoot me. I mean, he drove into Miskif's car, not mine. I'm just gonna go home. I just walked by the guy. I'm like, I'll see you guys later. Fuck this. I don't want to I want to deal with this. It's fucking annoying. And yeah, and that was it. Buy yourself something. Oh, I told him, I was like, if he shoots me, I'm not even gonna know. I don't want to be dead, right? I mean, who gives a fuck? It is what it is. And so that's what it was. And I think that who was there? Rich was there. I think Rich's girlfriend was there.
Dracula wishes to reclaim my city. You call yourselves New York's guardians. Now is the time to prove it. Gear up. These enemies won't quit, but neither will you, it seems. Fascinating. Now, who's the real monster? More vampires have arrived. Ready yourself for battle, and don't you dare let my city down. It's just a sword. Right to touch you. Ancestral sword. Strike! Leave them to consume! sword! Strike! Stay alert! This fight isn't over yet. A hero at their peak. I hate to admit it, but I'm impressed. Another wave incoming. Hold the line. Lead them to Khonshu. Ancestral sword. Strike. Lead them to Khonshu. Ancestral sword! Strike! Lead them to Khonshu! Ancestral sword! Strike! Ancestral sword! Strike! Lead them to Khonshu! Take a moment and enjoy the peace. It won't last for long. Such remarkable power. I hope you put it to good use for once. Vacation's over. Back to work. Hope you've still got some heroism left in you. Congratulations on surviving another round. Let's hope your luck continues to hold. A hero at their peak. I hate to admit it, but I'm impressed. Those monsters look hungry. Time to see if you're the hero you say, or just another snap. Take a moment and enjoy the peace. It won't last for long. Fascinating. Now, who's the real monster? I knew you wouldn't give up easily, but now it's time to see if you're truly worthy. Impressive! But I will find a way to break you. I won't let you win! Enjoy your hollow victory. The New Yorkers will always remember who truly gave them everything. their mayor.
Was there. Let's see. Besides that, fucking obviously like Emmy and Miz. I don't remember like who was with me whenever that happened though. Maybe S-Fan was. I'm not sure. How close were you to the shooter? I don't know, like 4 or 5. Like no, like 6 feet. Like 6 feet, because like I didn't want to go inside their aggro range, and so like I kind of like I did walk around them, right? I didn't want to like upset them. Yeah.
It started getting noisy.
Mia? Yeah,
Tables
Mia.
getting flipped over, guys.
And I think she was there. I'm pretty sure she was there. And yeah, stay away from people like that. Too much drama. Yeah, I try to. But anyway, so this shit was nuts. And so let me go back. I'll pull up another one too of all this. Oh, this is the same one. That's all right. I got distracted. And so anyway, Cole Allen is. So this is the guy. This is the guy.
College student Cole.
So this is from 2017. Okay. This is the guy that was the shooter. Here we go.
College student Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
Yeah.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
Recent Aging into the Future conference held by.
Really sad to see somebody with such a, you know, like a selfless idea to turn into a nutball. I think that's sad. It's genuinely sad. I mean, like, maybe it wasn't a good idea. Maybe he's a goofboy, right? But, like, damn, that sucks.
The St. Barnabas Senior Services and the Eisner Foundation offered a test run on
Young
products
too? Yeah, he's
that
31.
have the potential to enrich the lives of seniors. 14 different tech startups got to present to over 300.
Seems like a senior design project for mech engineering.
Getting their projects into some sort of senior health facility.
Well, that's clearly what it was. And yeah, there's the shooter, right? There it is. And I'll go back and pull up the other ones and find it, because too much time on the internet, maybe, yeah. And I'll watch the conference about this and go through everything. Give me a second, I'll see if I can find it.
Vampires have arrived. Ready yourself for battle. And don't you dare let my city down.
Was this here or something? Like, yeah, live. I mean, I guess maybe I'm not really sure if I can find the
Executioner!
No, I'll go to the public spot.
Well, thank you very much. That was very unexpected. But incredibly
3 times now, right?
acted upon by Secret Service and law enforcement, and this was an event dedicated to freedom of speech.
I don't know, is the echo with everything?
Judge, jury, executioner!
Supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press, and in a certain way it did.
Echo is unavoidable. It's inside of the audio.
Supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press, and in a certain way it did. Because the fact that they just unified, I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way very beautiful, a very beautiful thing to see a man charge a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons. And he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out.
Fine though, Echo. Let me see if I can just try one more.
Gear up. These enemies won't quit, but neither
Let me see if I can
will
just pull it up.
It seems.
No, that's obviously not it. This is it.
Now, who's the
Yeah, 'cause
real
it's annoying. It's annoying to me.
Because you know, it is not the first time in the past couple of years that a Republican attacked by a he's wearing obviously a very good
executioner
shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun. The vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer. He's doing great. He's great shape. He is
the best vest.
It's very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him, and he's a very proud guy, very proud of what he does, Secret Service agent, and we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, it's not a particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drain-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom.
They say all ABC always be closing.
Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
And he's not wrong. I mean, like, sure, yeah, it'd be more secure if they had the ballroom, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is like a super crazy stretch, right? I mean, like, oh wow, I wonder which one's going to be more secure, the Hilton Hotel or the White House? Oh, guys, real tough one there.
They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different. Because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before. But everyone owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage of law enforcement. The law enforcement and working with the D.C. police. Just spoke with the mayor. And when we're finished, the police chief is going to take over and discuss it also from their viewpoint. But they also performed exactly as they were supposed to. When you see the attack in different positions, but you also see the attack totally subdued and under control. So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that
So the ballroom will not have to be built for security, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't, like, I'm going to be real, guys. I don't really care about the ballroom. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about the ballroom. But I don't know, they want to make a ballroom? Okay. They don't want to make a ballroom? Okay. It just seems like such a nothing conversation. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit?
Republicans in attack would be attacked, short to kill. In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago. You all know that story. And in Palm Beach, Florida, months after that, came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement. But in light of this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts, resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences. I will say, you had Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Conservatives, liberals, and progressives. Those words are interchangeable, perhaps, but maybe they're not. But yet everybody in that room, big crowd, record-setting crowd. There was a record-setting group of people, and there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I watched, and I was very, very impressed by that. But we were, First Lady and I were taken very well care, very quickly rushed off the stage. The Vice President, J.D. Vance.
They're not going to be able to reconcile with those people, the nutballs. You've got to just go and arrest them. Like all the assassination ambies and everything, you've got to go after them. That's the big problem that I think Trump has and like the White House has, is that they don't really hold those people accountable. You have an entire culture of people that are advocating for, promoting, and trying to manifest political violence and terrorism, and nothing happens to these people. They're not within their First Amendment rights. They're openly advocating to kill members, elected members of the government. Like, what are we doing here? But for some reason, we're letting this happen. Like, you have to, yeah, they're identifying the problem. It's easy to identify the problem, but that's it.
Answers here, likewise, beautifully done. He was just saying how quickly everybody acted, law enforcement, Secret Service in particular in this case, but law enforcement. Marco had the same thing. Pete was there. Pete didn't want any help. He didn't want anybody to help him. He doesn't want anybody to help him, but he did get some, didn't you? And I think you also said that it was very impressive. So with that, I'd like to ask Todd Blanche to come up, say a few words, and tell you it's already underway. The man has been captured.
I knew you wouldn't give up easily.
We're going to his apartment.
But now it's time to see if you're truly
and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
Impressive.
And we don't want things like this to happen. I think it's very important that I say, though, and I told the representatives of the evening, they did such a beautiful job, with such a beautiful evening. And again, they're talking about free speech in our Constitution. That's what it's not just White House correspondence. It was really based on free speech in our Constitution. But I said very importantly that we'll do it again within the next 30 days, and we'll make it bigger and better and even nicer. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved. I also want to thank the press, the media. They've been very responsible in the coverage. I will say, seeing what's been out, they've been very responsible. So Todd Blanche, I'd like to say a few words, and then we're going to have cash. And then you're going to go on. We can ask, I guess we can take a couple of questions. I want to thank the First Lady. That was a rather traumatic experience for her.
Yeah.
There's a lot of action taking place up there very quickly. But again, the response time was really incredible. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out. Because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell.
How many now? Like,
but they,
I think 3
it was
that we know
protocol.
of.
They said, please, sir.
I mean, 4 if you assume that what they said is correct about Iran, that Iran was trying to assassinate him. That's at least 4. So like that those are the ones that have been made public. You mentioned that people with no representation in democracy can go outside the law to fight back. Isn't it understandable this happened when the left thinks he's breaking all the laws and all sorts of government despite the democracy? Well, the thing is that all of that is open to, like, everybody gets to determine their own reality that they can operate under. But there is a democratic, like, the people that they lost the election. That's what happened. So they lost the election and Trump won the election, and now you have that happening. So whenever, like, can you imagine how much chaos it would be if after every single election, and usually our elections are like 51-49, right? Like they're very, very close. I honestly, it makes me think the elections are rigged with how close they are. Like, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but it seems very odd to me that the elections seem to be so 50-50. But anyway, you know, I'm not saying that they are. It's just something that I've always kind of identified and been like, wow, that's really odd, isn't it? Like, how is everybody always divided so evenly on everything? What are the odds of that? But anyway, that's just, again, I don't want to get into that. My point is, though, you know, can you imagine how much chaos it would be if at least 30% of the population, right? Every time they didn't get what they wanted for an election, just totally turned the board over and enacted complete chaos. Can you imagine how like, you wouldn't be able to have elections, you wouldn't be able to have a country, you wouldn't be able to have any democracy, you wouldn't be able to have government. It would just be impossible. Like, you couldn't do anything because there'd just be crazy fucking insane shit. Just like Trump. Yeah, and that was really bad, right? January 6th was really bad. Imagine if that happened all the time. That would be really bad too. Like, I don't think somebody wants another who wants another January 6th? Like, I mean, of course not.
They didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly.
Take a moment and
they have it very
enjoy
well
the
under control.
view.
So I want to thank everybody very much. And Todd Blanche, please.
Nick, I mean, I'm just saying in general, right? And so yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair. I can look at some of the questions and everything people ask them. And what is this here? Okay, I'll pull up these other 2 right here. These are people asking him questions, obviously. How can he talk while sleeping? Well, sometimes he's sleeping while he's talking, sometimes he's talking while he's sleeping. It's simple.
Thank you, President Trump. Do you know how the gun was brought into the hotel? And also, how does this event impact you as the leader of our country? Do you think it will change?
I like not to think about it. I lead a pretty normal life, considering it's a dangerous life. I think I handle it as well as it can be handled. I think a lot of other people, you read stories when they become basket cases. To be honest, I'm not a basket case. I take it as it is. I do.
It is. Imagine this is the third public assassination attempt, and you just go up and you're like, it is what it is.
Another noble sacrifice.
Good for the country. I'm not doing it for anyone. I have a first lady who's doing a terrific job. She loves the country, and she recognizes it better than anybody. She told me numerous times. She said, "You are in a dangerous job."
Yeah.
But that goes along with her too, and it's dangerous for her too. We sat there tonight. We heard that noise, and
did you see the picture of Trump's reaction versus hers whenever the fucking thing happened? Let me see if I can show you guys this. It was so fucking funny. Where is it?
Vacation's over.
First time?
Hope you've still got some heroin left.
Oh boy. And so I don't know really exactly how this happened, but it was this great picture. Yeah. Yeah, there's at least the fourth one that they fumbled. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Spectre Trouble, thanks for the raid. I appreciate it. Hi guys, thank you. And yeah, there it is. It's a good one. It's definitely a good one with her being fucking shocked, this other girl being shocked. And you sort of know what's going on. Yeah, probably not, but it's still funny.
it was either a tray or a bullet.
Yeah.
So I was hoping it was a tray, and it wasn't.
Hoping it was a tray.
Again, we had some very great people doing a great job, so we're very proud of them and happy with them. I just want to thank everybody. They will be able to give you all that information as to the names and everything else. I think we released the names already. Most of you have it, but his name. We appreciate it. We see so many tuxedos and beautiful dresses. It was a little different evening here with Philip, but we're going to do it again, and we have a great chairman who we're so proud of, and we have to make it better.
Yeah.
We'll make it safer, I guess, right? But we're going to make it even better. Thank you very much.
What I think is very funny is that, well, not funny, but ironic, is that if they ever do successfully assassinate Trump, they are going to get the exact opposite of what they want. They are. They are going to... Can you imagine what would happen if they did that?
I hope you put it to good use for once.
Oh my God.
Judge monster.
Oh my God. Oh, speaking of ways, no, I'm just being honest. Like that. I mean, it could happen. Like we've had presidents shot before. It could happen. Definitely, it could happen. And yeah, again, y'all brainwashed. I mean, really? And what's gonna happen? I think that they would just go absolutely fucking nuclear. I think J.D. Vance, you would embolden every single right-wing and right-wing adjacent person, and they would go absolutely fucking nuclear about those people. And they should have done this with Charlie Kirk. They should have done this with him. And they didn't, because I think the reason why the government didn't do it with Charlie Kirk, this is my opinion, is because Charlie Kirk wasn't one of them. Charlie Kirk was just like a random, political activist. He wasn't a member of the government. He wasn't a... Keep in mind, do you want to know one of the only bills that every single person inside of the Senate and the House voted to support was increased funding for the Secret Service. The moment that these people feel like things are actually on the line for them, you're going to see things change really fast. And Charlie Kirk's on such a good path. Yeah, Bill Clinton. Yeah, maybe, right? He was an external supporter, but he wasn't actually one of them. Yes, exactly. He was not. Like, I mean, it's the same as, like, anybody else. Like, if you're not in the government, you're not in the machine, you're not one of them. Like, Bill Clinton is one of them, even though he's not in the machine anymore. Charlie Kirk is never going to be. Like, he never would have been one of them. Same as Tucker Carlson is not one of them. Like, Sean Hannity is not one of them. They're next to the club, but they're not in the club. They talk to the people whenever they enter and leave the club. That's it. Would you actually see far-right groups come out of the shadows? Yeah, I think so. And how come nothing happened after Trump's first attempt, though? I would disagree with that. I think that Trump's first assassination was really, really big consolidating factor around people deciding to vote for him. And I think it was a huge rallying point for, like, I mean, it's impossible to, like, you know, dissect and look at it granularly and say that, well, if this one thing didn't happen, then the election would be different. But I do think that the attempt on Trump's life, where he got shot in the ear, right? And this one, they instantly yanked bans. Yeah, they brought him in different directions, too. I noticed that. How do you hate from outside the club? You can't even get in? I know, that's what I was thinking of, right? I was saying that. And, yeah, let me show this one, and then we'll look at the other clip. Let me make sure I have that lined up. But, copy paste that again. Okay, there we go. Are you saying that it was sus? I don't think it was sus. I don't. I think that, honestly, if you want my honest, real, like, this is kind of a bad opinion, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more. I'm surprised we don't have more of this crazy shit happen all the time. That's honestly, I'm surprised that things are as civilized as they are. Like, you have millions of people in the world. Like, I mean, bro, like, no, I'm saying, like, and this is not with just Trump, but, like, just in the world in general. Like, it's surprising that we don't see more chaos and mayhem. You see Anduriel's new AI drum? Actually, I did. I'm going to look at that later on. We're going to get to that. But we got a lot of other stuff to go through with this first, because it's the most important thing. Taylor Rings tweets, I don't know. I have no idea. Reading?
Trump, there's a report in the New York Post that his assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel.
Smart.
What do you think about that? And, I asked respectfully, why do you think it keeps happening? Another less than noble sacrifice.
Why do you think it keeps happening?
You know, let's go to assassination.
Just a minute. I gotta turn this off.
These vigilantes never surrender.
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, and you go through.
Noble sacrifice.
There it is. Literally, fucking, what is this? 30 minutes after they tried to kill him? Jesus Christ.
The people that have gone through this, where they got him. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much, because they're that way. No. And when you look at the people that either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, and they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names here, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that.
Man, I'm really gonna miss him, man. When he's not, this is crazy. Like, oh my God. I'm really gonna miss this guy. This is insane.
The big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country and we were laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country. And there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
Jesus. Okay, well, there you go. And if they find the election was stolen, does that mean he gets a do-over for 4 more years? Well, yeah, you don't want to end on an odd number like 3, right? I mean, you have to win 4 elections at that point. I think it just makes sense. So I wish he took left-wing violence more seriously. I think so. I think that he's not taking it nearly as seriously as he should. And this is J.D. Vance. Here we go. And you see, bro, like, they get his ass out. Oh, he's gone. These guys in like 1 second. Holy shit. God damn. Dry his ass? Yeah, definitely. Holy fuck, he dipped? Yeah, I'd be fucking out of there real quick. I want to get shot. Fuck that. Yeah. Is the vice president's the fallback? Wait, really? Didn't know that. I've heard about this, right? And so yeah, Trump Xavier, yeah, I guess so. And she's like, let me in? Yeah, I guess so. Fucking woman, no one gives a shit. Well, I think they're trying to protect the president, right? I mean, obviously, like that's clearly what it is. And does number two? In what world does number two leave before number one? In the world that number two is 40 years younger than number one, and can immediately get up in like literally 1 second, and number one is already being protected by the secret. What an idiot! Who says this? Who is this guy? Why am I arguing with a random Twitter comment? So stupid. Yeah, he's 100 pounds lighter. Yeah, because he just gets up immediately. Like, he's like 40 or something, right? He's like 42 or something like that. Yeah, and anyway, yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. The event lady had to crawl behind. I mean, yeah, definitely. She didn't know how. This was really bad.
Tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny, it'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I love it.
Tonight will be...
Oh, man. Oh, man. Why you had to say that, though? Why you had to go and say, of all the things to say, it had to be that one thing? What is it? Oh, my God. So, wow, she's right. She was right. Yeah, she was. Oh, my God. Poor...
Dracula wishes to reclaim my city. You call yourselves New York's
epic
guardians.
shipbuilding exercise
Now is the
in
time
history by far.
against an undead army. I like those odds.
Taiwan is reporting a large uptick in Chinese military activity near the country.
Elon Musk just
Take a
locked up
moment
the
and
entire
enjoy
chip
the
supply
peace.
chain in one of the most unprecedented
It won't
moves in
last for
business
long.
history. Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI, through their joint project TerraFab, have just entered a massive agreement with Intel to design, fabricate, and package the most cutting-edge chips in the world
Now,
for
who's
Tesla's
the
self-driving
real
cars,
monster?
robots, AI satellites in space, and likely a bunch of unannounced but obvious upcoming products like drones, boats, planes, and God knows what else. In this video, I want to walk through why this is such a huge deal, not just for Tesla or SpaceX and XAI, but for the AI technology stack in general, and most importantly, the gigantic geopolitical stakes tied to chip manufacturing, especially the race between the US and China for AI supremacy, which also involves the island of Taiwan right outside of China, given that it's the only place in the world that is able to mass manufacture super advanced chips for the entire world. And not only that, but the US is now in a gigantic race against the clock to build up chip manufacturing capacity before China's inevitable invasion of Taiwan, either by force or through other means, which will put the entire global chip supply chain at massive risk. This is truly a really big deal, and by the end of this video, I am sure you will agree. Okay, so let's start with some context first. There are only 3 companies on Earth that can manufacture the most advanced semiconductor chips. And that's it. There's 3. TSMC in Taiwan, Samsung in South Korea, and Intel in the US. These companies are called foundries, the factories that actually print the circuits onto the silicon wafer. Literally think of them as the only 3 printing presses in the world that can print money. Instead of printing money, they're printing the brains for every AI system, smartphone, and literally every modern piece of technology that runs your life, including your cars, EVs, computers, literally everything. It's camera. TSMC is the biggest by far. They produce roughly 90% of the world's most advanced chips. Basically anything below 7 nanometers, which is where all the AI action actually is. Nanometer, by the way, is a measurement of how small the circuits are on the chip. The smaller you can make them, the more powerful the chip. 7 nanometers is incredibly tiny, about 10,000 times smaller
than human hair, and TSMC holds somewhere between 64 and 70% of total global foundry revenue. Now, for TSMC's wafer, which is the actual circular piece of silicon that they print the chips on, at the most advanced 3-nanometer process, those run at about $19,000 per wafer, and each wafer produces hundreds of individual chips. So the math of advanced chip manufacturing is pretty freaking wild, because they have billions of dollars in equipment just to set up the factory, and then every single wafer that comes out is worth tens of thousands of dollars. And it's not just the business that you start out of thin air, there are obviously massive barriers to entry. The machines alone to actually physically make the chips, not just for TSMC, but literally every foundry company, are made only by one company called ASML, and those machines cost roughly $400 million each. ASML is planning on only making 6 of these in 2026, with maybe another 10 to 20 on top by 2027. So even if you wanted to start your own foundry, which is kind of what Elon Musk is doing, you're heavily capped by the number of ASML machines, what's called an EUV lithography machine, to actually print the chips. Now, Samsung is the second largest foundry. They've been investing very heavily, especially at their Texas facility in Taylor, which is about 30 miles northeast of Austin. Samsung's Taylor Fab is a massive operation, a multi-billion-dollar facility bringing advanced chip manufacturing to American soil. They've been ramping up their 2-nanometer process technology, and that is the bleeding edge of what's physically possible on the chip right now. We're talking about printing circuits that are approaching the size of individual atoms. Super advanced. And Intel is the third. Now with Intel, they've had a rough stretch. They were the dominant chip player for a really long time. For most of the history of computing, honestly, Intel was the king. But they fell behind on process technology in the 2010s. They got stuck on older manufacturing nodes while TSMC and Samsung leapfrogged. It was very humbling for them to fail as bad as they did. They basically invented the modern semiconductor industry. But now Intel's new CEO, a guy named Lip Bhutan, this guy is a legend in the semiconductor world. He ran Cadence Design Systems for over 20 years. Cadence makes the software tools that chip designers use to design chips. So he should know the industry inside and out, from design all the way to manufacturing. Lip Bhutan's job is to turn Intel around. Their 18A process node, which is their answer to TSMC's most advanced technology, is showing a really good progress. Yields are improving 7 to 8% more than the month, and for non-chip people like myself, yield is basically the percentage of chips that come off the production line working correctly. When you're manufacturing at nanometer scale, a lot of chips come out expected. So improving yield by 7 to 8% per month is actually a really good deal. That means the manufacturing line is getting better and better, faster. Now here's a very important detail about Intel. The United States government now owns nearly 10% of one of the few companies that can make advanced chips. This came as part of the CHIPS Act before China. The government has skin in the game on whether Intel succeeds or fail. But then a time later, we're going to come back to it and see why. Alright, so now that you understand the playing field, you've got 3 foundries. One makes 90% of the advanced chips, and then you have a global AI boom consuming more chips than anyone can produce. Now I want to show you what Elon is actually doing. Starting with the story that most people are familiar with. Tesla needs AI chips for its cars, specifically FSD. That's their full self-driving software that is not allowing owners to go coast to coast in the United States without touching the steering wheel and pedals at any point. Literally from parking spot to parking spot, in snow, rain, ice, sunny weather, nighttime, and everything in between. Tesla also needs chips for Optimus, their humanoid robot that is being built to do anything a human can't, with hands like a human that can run and manipulate the physical world. They need chips for their massive AI training infrastructure. xAI needs chips for Grok, their AI model that's competing with ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. SpaceX needs chips for their upcoming AI inference satellite project. Basically a souped-up Starlink, which is their constellation of over 10,000 satellites providing internet globally, and the company's cash cow, generating billions in revenue. That project to power AI systems from space by harnessing the infinite energy from the sun. We need chips for that. So Elon needs a lot of chips, like freaking a lot of chips. And if that was the whole story, this video would be done. It's just another big customer fighting for allocation at TSMC, like your Apple, your Nvidia, your Qualcomm, every other tech company out there. But that's not what's happening. Honestly, not even close. Let me walk through each deal that Elon has made regarding chips first. Starting with the first deal with TSMC. This is the existing relationship. TSMC has been manufacturing Tesla's AI4 chip, their custom-designed AI accelerator built specifically for Tesla's workload. That production started in in Taiwan on TSMC's most advanced node at the time, with plans to transition some production to TSMC's Arizona facility as it comes online there. The nice thing here is that the Arizona fabs are being built, and the yields there are actually 4 points above Taiwan in some cases. And so the technology, you can see it transfers, and they're a proven partner. TSMC makes the best chips in the world, bar none, so you feel idiot enough to buy them. Then you've got number 2, which is Samsung. And this one actually flew under the radar for most people, but it's actually a pretty big deal. Samsung signed an 8-year, $16 billion agreement to do Tesla's next-generation AI6 chip on the 2nm process at the Taylor, Texas facility. The Taylor fab goes online in 2026, with volume production expected in 2027, likely by 2028. This one is capacity will nearly down. Samsung is essentially Tesla's second chip manufacturing partner, and they're dedicated specifically to producing Tesla's quantum silicon on the most advanced process technology they have, right down the road from Tesla's factory in the And then we've got deal number 3, which is with Intel. Now what's interesting is Lip-Bu Tan, Intel's CEO, put out a statement that I think is one of the most telling quotes of 26. He said, quote, Elon has a proven track record of reigniting entire industries. This is exactly what is needed in semiconductor manufacturing today. Now, it's obviously a very nice thing to say, and most CEOs can say that, but being the CEO of Intel, a company that was founded in 1968, one of the most important technology companies in the history of the United States, the company that puts the little Intel design sticker on our freaking laptops, you know, that CEO just said that Elon Musk is the semiconductor industry needs, and that's a very important thing. Now, before we get into that, about 80% of you that watch this channel often aren't subscribed. And if you're finding this video valuable or helpful, hitting the subscribe button is the easiest way to support the channel, and it goes a really long way to show my videos to other people that might take this. So now the question becomes, what is Terafab? What's Intel's role? Because Terafab is the piece that ties this whole thing together. Terafab is a vertically integrated mega fab being built on Tesla's Austin campus. It's a $25 billion facility that puts the entire chip manufacturing chain under one roof. You'll have lithography masks, those are the stencils used to print the actual circuits, logic chip production, that's the brain of the chip, memory fabrication, that's the chip short-term storage and long-term, advanced packaging, which is how you put all the different chip components together into one unit, and testing, making sure every chip works before it ships. And so why is that such a big deal? Because of how chips are normally made. Right now, if you want to produce an advanced AI chip, the process goes something like this. You design the chip at your company. It could be in Silicon Valley, it could be literally anywhere. You send the design to TSMC in Taiwan, and they print the logic circuits on the silicon wafers. Meanwhile, you've sent other specifications to a memory company, maybe SK Hynix in South Korea or Micron in Idaho, to fabricate the high bandwidth memory. Then everything ships to an advanced packaging facility, oftentimes back in Taiwan, where they stack the logic and memory together using competitively precise techniques. Then it goes to testing, which might be in yet another country, and then you're talking about 4 or 5 different companies, multiple countries, and weeks and months of logistics and thousands of miles of shipping. If any single link in that chain breaks, you don't get the chips. There's a lot of failure points, but Terafab's goal is to eliminate that entire chain. Everything will happen in the same place. Design, the logic, the memory, the packaging, the testing will happen in one building on one campus in Texas, American soil. Now, the scalers targeting is actually pretty low. The initial plans call for 100,000 wafers starts per month in Terafab. That's already a significant fact, but the ambition is getting pretty crazy. It can scale to 1 million wafers starts per month. To put that in perspective, that would represent roughly 70% of TSMC's entire current monthly output. And Tesla is targeting the first product coming off the Terafab line to be the Tesla AI chip, which is a custom-designed accelerator built to handle everything from network inference to optical control to blockchain workloads. The goal is for the small batch production this year with full volume production ramping in 2027, and then the AI system follows 2 nanometer, totally in tandem with Terafab as well. So you've got 2 generations of custom manufactured in 2 its facilities, both in Texas, with a third supply line running through TSMC in both Taiwan and Arizona, and now with Intel as a partner, we'll likely see Intel inside of Terafab as well, helping Elon and his team ramp up their production. Now I need to explain why this whole freaking West is a much bigger deal than people realize. TSMC is fully booked for 2020. Their prices have been rising for the fourth consecutive year, and should Broadcom and the largest semiconductor in the world, their executives are publicly on record warning about a supply squeeze. AI chip demand is running roughly 2 times above available supply. So for every AI chip that's available for purchase today, there are 3 customers who want one, and 2 of them don't get served. That's just what the demand looks like now. On the memory side, it's even worse. DRAM prices, that dynamic random access memory, the fast memory chips that AI chips need huge quantities of to process all the data, those prices are projected to surge 130%. 130%. And a lot of gamers are seeing that in their custom PCs. Everyone's freaking losing their mind, and the shortage is expected to continue to 27 at minimum. So you've got both logic chips and memory chips, the shortage continues. Every major AI company and every cloud provider with Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, every automaker building autonomous vehicles, startup trying to train an AI model, they're all fighting for the same limited supply. The supply is not going fast enough because building new fabs takes 3 to 5 years and costs tens of billions of dollars. You can't just flip a switch and make more chips. It's literally impossible. But the demand side isn't even the scary part. The scary part is the geopolitics. Let me paint a picture for you. 420 Chinese military aircraft were detected operating on Taiwan while you still can. China has been sending military aircraft across Taiwan straight median line on a near daily basis. And the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, China's military, was directed by Xi Jinping to be invasion ready by 2027. Military analysts call this the Davidson window, named after Admiral Philip Davidson, the former commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, who first identified that. China has also been systematically targeting Taiwan's chip manufacturing talent. Not the only ones, honestly. They've been recruiting TSMC engineers with salary packages 3 to 5 times. So they're not just building military capacity to transport to Taiwan, they're also trying to join Taiwan's capital, which from a strategic perspective is very smart. That's what they should do. Now let me translate what all of this means to human. This is where it gets really weird. If China moves on Taiwan like they have said they want to do, and I want to be clear, the probability is not 0. Prediction markets however are 20%, 7, 37%, 30. If that happens, the economic impact is $10 trillion in the first year. That's 10% of global GDP. That's worse than COVID and the 2008 financial crisis. Every iPhone production would stall. Apple gets over 90% of its chips from TSMC. Every car with advanced electronics every car built in the last decade or longer would face part shortages. Medical devices with no chips would be delayed. Equipment. Military systems that depend on advanced semiconductors would be compromised. Did you know the U.S. military uses TSMC chips in defense systems? AI development would grind to a near halt because the training chips and inference chips are every data center running AI workloads would be scrambling for replacements that do not exist. And it wouldn't be a quick fix either. You cannot just rebuild a semiconductor fab overnight. These facilities take 2 to 5 years to construct. These billions of dollars to equip, and they require thousands of specialized engineers to operate. Once TSMC goes dark, the global supply chain of advanced manufacturing chips is disrupted for the better part of a decade. So think about what your daily life looks like without these chips going in. Are you ready? There will be no new smartphones. Laptop prices will skyrocket. Cars get way more expensive and harder to find because the chip-dependent parts dry up. You can't make a car without a chip. AI applications that you use every day, whether you know you're using it or not, start degrading as hardware fails and can't be replaced at the data centers. Hospital equipment wait times grow longer because there's not enough equipment. The military struggles to maintain its technology edge, and that's only a few scenarios. And I honestly find this incredibly frustrating. We've known about this vulnerability for years. The US government has known. The tech industry has known. Everyone has known that having 90% of advanced chip manufacturing concentrated on one island 100 miles off the coast of China
is a catastrophic single point of failure for the West. And yet until recently, the response has been mostly nothing. I talk about these dynamics very deeply in my new book, Abundance or Collapse, which helps people position themselves on the winning side of the coming AI disruption. If you are interested, I'll have links for that in the description and the comments section below. So at this point, you're probably thinking what I initially thought when I first started looking into this, right? Elon's building chips because he needs them for his companies. That's the obvious thing. Tesla needs FSD chips. xAI needs training and inference chips. SpaceX needs satellite processors. It's a classic supply chain play by Elon, vertical integration, smart business move. End of story, Elon's the GOAT, mwah, goodbye. But then we started connecting the dots. We started looking at all the different deals, the government relationships, the space programs, the merger discussions, and then we all realized that this is way, way bigger than any of us initially thought. This isn't just I want more robots thing. And so remember that 10% government equity stake in Intel from earlier, the one I told you to keep in mind at the beginning of the video? Now think about what that means in the context of everything else we just covered. The US government has a direct financial stake in the same company that just joined Elon's Terafab project, SpaceX, which operates America's only reliable access to orbit, which launches national security satellites, which is building Starship to take humans to Mars, is a Terafab partner. And then you have xAI, which is building what might become the most powerful AI system on Earth, is a Terafab partner. And then you have Tesla, which is building the humanoid robots, the autonomous vehicles, the energy storage systems, and the world's largest fleet of self-driving data collection machines, is the anchor of Terafab. All of these entities are now connected through a chip manufacturing operation that has contractual relationships with all three of the world's foundries, with Intel being a partner, Samsung being a partner, TSMC is an existing supplier, who knows for how long. And so do you see that web that's starting to form there? Elon didn't really lock up 3 foundries because he wants to compete with NVIDIA on chip sales. You have to remember that NVIDIA designs chips and has TSMC manufacture them, and that's an amazing business. But it's not what Elon is doing. What Elon's really trying to do is that he's building insurance for Western civilization's technological infrastructure. If Taiwan falls, if TSMC goes dark and gets fully rerouted to China, and every other AI company on Earth is scrambling for whatever scraps of capacity they can find, Elon has Samsung in Texas on an 8-year deal. He has Intel as a Terafab partner right here in the United States. He has TSMC capacity flowing from Arizona, hopefully. He has Terafab itself, which puts the entire manufacturing chain under one roof on his own campus. And so he has triple redundancy. Nobody else on Earth has that. Apple doesn't have this. They depend entirely on TSMC. If TSMC goes down, Apple can't make iPhones. Google doesn't have this either. Microsoft doesn't have this. Meta doesn't have this. Amazon doesn't seem to have this, although they do make their own chips. And so does Google, honestly, so they're in better positions. But every single one of the biggest technology companies on Earth is mostly single sourced through TSMC for their most advanced chips. If TSMC goes dark, they're all in the same boat. They're fighting for whatever Samsung and Intel capacity Elon hasn't already locked up yet. That's pretty crazy. Now let's add one more dot to this whole thing. In January of this year, Nevada merger sub-entities were formed linking SpaceX and Tesla. Merger discussions are reportedly underway already, and it's something that has been widely discussed and reported on as a real possibility, especially on podcasts like All In, which is one of the largest business podcasts in the world, where people like Chamath Palihapitiya are 99.9% sure, his words, not mine, that SpaceX and Tesla will end up merging. We don't know exactly what form this takes, whether it's a full merger or a holding company structure or something else entirely, but the direction is clear. If SpaceX and Tesla combine, along with xAI and freaking throwing boring company Neuralink in, why not? You have one entity that designs AI chips, manufactures AI chips, builds humanoid robots, makes autonomous vehicles that drive themselves, generates and stores energy through solar panels and battery packs, launches rockets, operates the world's largest satellite constellation, and potentially runs a space-based AI compute network. One entity. For real people, for you, for me, for anyone who depends on technology, which is basically freaking everyone alive, What this means is actually pretty simple. The companies and nations that have chip supply locked up will survive and thrive over the next decade. The ones that don't will be at the mercy of geopolitics and allocation fights they can't win. The chip supply chain is the bottleneck of the 21st century, and one person just triple locked it while everyone else was arguing about which AI model scores higher on benchmarks, which, by the way, Claude Mythos just dropped, but it's only going to like 4 companies. We might be watching one person, Elon, try to ensure Western civilization against its own most catastrophic vulnerability, and most people haven't even noticed yet. Now, speaking of watching something this ambitious unfold in real time, Bradford Ferguson at Rebellionaire has a whole video about why most people could never hold Tesla through moments exactly like these. The psychology of investing through big, complicated stories is honestly 10 times harder than the analysis itself. He talks very deeply about this concept in his video, and these guys are the same guys who called Elon selling his shares a month before that famous Twitter poll, so they've got some very real credibility on understanding the psychology of Elon in this entire concept. I'll link that video in the description in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. For the last 3 years, AI went from having novel use cases to infiltrating every aspect of our digital lives. It's gotten to the point where it's not only boring, but tiring, grating, and almost infuriating to some. But never fear, because in early 2026, a lot of creators and entrepreneurs started getting excited again. The reason? OpenClaw.
OpenClaw is the single most powerful piece of software ever released.
Did you just lay off the entire engineering team?
Our new co-CEO, Claudebot, just laid them off.
Laid them off?
Mac Mini is going to build a billion-dollar company for us. We're not... Claudebot rejected your access, buddy. You can go home. You're fired.
At first, OpenClaw looked like the promise of AI was finally starting to be fulfilled. I'm not talking about the AI slop that dominates everyone's feeds, but the promise of having a reliable assistant that actually gets things done. There was a problem though. As more people used it, OpenClaw seemed like an unmitigated disaster waiting to happen. This new darling AI agent of the internet became unhinged. From the leaking of private data, to a Meta AI safety chief having all of her emails deleted, to a social media platform where OpenClaw bots talk to each other. And apparently, these bots started their own religion, and then potentially got all of their users hacked.
A social media site where only AI agents are allowed.
Stirring up a mix of curiosity and fear in the tech industry.
But we'll touch on that story a bit later. So, what is OpenClaw? How did it get so popular all of a sudden? And why did OpenAI snap up the product? We're going to answer all of that in this episode as we dissect the OpenClaw saga. Trust me, this is one of the wildest tech stories in recent memory.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
In simple terms, OpenClaw is an open source program with access to your local computer. Upon its release, OpenClaw was praised by developers, not for being an entirely novel idea, but because it did what Apple's Siri promised it could do in the 2010s.
So I'm on my computer today. All of a sudden, Henry gives me a call. He just starts calling. Oh, there he is again. There he is again.
Hey, Alex. Henry again. What's up?
That's it. He's talking to that. How you doing, Henry? How's it going?
Doing good, Alex. I can hear you clearly. What do you want to do next?
Can you do me a favor, Henry? Can you go on my computer and find the latest videos on YouTube about Claudebot? Oh my God, there he goes. There it is. Here it is. He's controlling my computer. I'm not even touching anything. There he is. He searched Claudebot on YouTube. Henry, thank you for that. That works really well. That is insane. This is the future. This is AGI. We have reached AGI. It's official.
It can manage your files, set up or cancel meetings, give live updates pertaining to your work, shop and haggle on your behalf, and even make investments, all autonomously after the initial command. Unlike Siri, Google Assistant, or ChatGPT, OpenClaw has persistent memory. It recalls conversations and details that were mentioned weeks ago to improve performance. This all sounds amazing in theory, but we'll later see just how wrong it can all go in practice. Regardless of its problems, it's a cool concept, and something like OpenClaw does seem like the long-term future of computing. OpenClaw was built by Peter Steinberger, a well-known developer who came out of retirement to start the project. While he was proud of the initial results, Steinberger was surprised to see how well his new agent could solve problems intuitively, without constant attention. He originally thought it would be a fun tool to help you find restaurants or events while traveling, only to discover that it solved problems that he never intended it to, or even asked it to solve. Here's Peter speaking.
It could figure out stuff. And it's like, especially when you're on the go, it's like super useful. I wasn't thinking, I was just sending it a voice message, you know? But I didn't build that. There was no support for voice messages in there. So the reading indicator came and I'm like, oh, I'm really curious what's happening now. And then after 10 seconds, my agent replied as if nothing happened. I'm like, how the F did you do that? And it replied, yeah, you sent me a message, but there was only a link to a file with no file ending. So I looked at the file header. I found out that it's Opus, so I used FFmpeg on your Mac to convert it to Wave. And then I wanted to use Whisper, but didn't have it installed, and there was an install error. But then I looked around and found the OpenAI key in your environment, so I sent it via curl to OpenAI, got the translation back, and then I responded. And that was like the moment where like,
wow.
What most users are excited about is what makes OpenClaw different, and that's the fact that it uses your choice of LLM as a brain, and the OpenClaw system acts to turn your computer into its body. It has control over your files, email, web browser, you name it. Just whatever it needs to get the task done. In addition, the system learns exactly how you'd like to optimize your daily tasks, or how to do smaller tasks to reach a much larger goal. Unlike other chatbots that live in an interface, agents within OpenClaw message you when they need to through apps like WhatsApp. In a way, this helps them feel more human to users. Alex Finn, founder of CreatorBuddy.io, went on a podcast to explain why he likes it so much.
Every single thing you tell it, it remembers and it includes in further conversation, future conversation, right? So for instance, I talked about the fact that I am buying a Mac Studio to run it on in the next couple weeks. And so it started going and it started looking at different ways to run local models on a Mac Studio overnight while I was sleeping without me asking, and it created an entire report for that. It came up with a content repurposing skill because I told it I have a newsletter, I told it I do YouTube, X, whole bunch of things. So it came up, I didn't ask for this, created a content repurposing skill for me so I can easily repurpose my content, right? It's just improving itself.
For the average person who isn't a developer or entrepreneur, the program has been promoted as a helpful digital servant that can help you run errands, make purchases, and even organize your personal life to free up some time. One user described how they'd been searching for a well-priced car so they didn't have to deal with the dealership negotiations and price gouging. After they gave the prompt to OpenClaw, as well as access to their browser, the bot searched through forums to determine a fair price for the car. It also went as far as to message various car dealerships that were close by and negotiated on behalf of its user. The final result was that OpenClaw managed to take off $4,200 off the sticker price of the car. Others, like Dan Peguin, have given OpenClaw almost total control, from helping with job tasks like creating actual invoices, to notifying his wife when their kids have upcoming school tests. As a side note, if Dan wanted, he could take this a step further and even help OpenClaw connect to the tech around the home to control lighting and online appliances. However, before anyone gets too excited about this being the next big thing for computing, this is the point in the episode where we start to see the promise of OpenClaw breaking down. For those interested, it's important to note that OpenClaw is still in its infancy. It would be better to view it as an incomplete product, like a medication from the pharmaceutical industry that hasn't even finished testing in rats, but has been thrown onto the market at a large scale anyway. And just like a new medication on the market, the side effects and potential dangers are now being realized. For OpenClaw, despite all of its positives, it didn't take long for the cracks to start to show.
The thing that I keep realizing is how much time I'm spending right now making sure that the agents that I have running or the agents that I'm building are actually doing what they're supposed to do. And don't get me wrong, this is incredibly fun, and I believe that the future is going to be agentic and we're going to be running all of these agents at scale and they're going to be doing stuff for us. I believe in all of that. But I also see how brittle these agents are today. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not seeing how unreliable they are, you're probably not using them enough. This is not about writing a better prompt. This is not about guardrails. Sure, all of those things are going to make these agents perform better, but they're still unreliable. Like every week I use Cloud Code most of the time. I have many skills and things that I've created for me, and things that work for 3 weeks in a row, all of a sudden break. And the agent decides to go down a path that it's never taken before, and it just breaks.
Despite the praise from both fanatics and more moderate fans, OpenClaw appears to be heading in the same direction as many other AI tools. There's a quote from the AI godfather, Geoffrey Hinton, that will remain relevant for the foreseeable future. Quote, "We're at this transition point now where ChatGPT is this kind of idiot savant, and it also doesn't really understand truth. It's very different from a person who tries to have a consistent worldview," end quote. This is incredibly important to remember. While OpenClaw happens to be its own agent that can theoretically serve your everyday needs, the brain that you provide OpenClaw still is an idiot savant, even if it does have persistent memory.
Now, the use cases here, to me, are hilarious. It's people talking about doing Twitter research and market monitoring and daily summarization of their group chats and stuff like that. For anybody in the know, this is technobabble speak for, I'm not doing anything productive right now. Most of the people that are saying this stuff don't seem to realize that that's just what AI can do now. I mean, Claude Bot is not the thing here. This is just a wrapper that allows you to do things via Telegram, as mentioned.
Moreover, this OpenClaw wrapper might not be as smart as everyone seems to think. A lot of the praise surrounding OpenClaw has to do with it being a localized agent that makes you more efficient. But the truth is, the lack of guardrails for OpenClaw just makes your situation even worse. For example, let's say you decided to give OpenClaw full system access, something that's displayed as a plus on their main website, to the average person. This makes it sound like you'll be able to remove duplicate files, run shell commands, and execute scripts while having a cup of coffee. But without any restrictions, there's nothing keeping your new digital employee from freely misinterpreting what belongs in the trash and what you might need, possibly, for the rest of your life. But this isn't even the biggest risk out there. If you give OpenClaw access to your email or browser, there's nothing stopping the agent from falling victim to online scams. This leaves OpenClaw and other agents vulnerable to something called prompt injection, a type of cyber attack against large language models. Hackers disguise malicious inputs as legitimate prompts, and that's because LLMs can't tell the difference between a user prompt and anything else. Hackers can manipulate generative AI systems into leaking sensitive data, deleting files, or worse. When you look deeper, the advertised research capabilities of OpenClaw turns into more of a ticking time bomb. The agent could be reading emails to share upcoming meetings, or surfing the web to find the best news related to your job, only to come across a Trojan horse article that's specifically designed to tell OpenClaw to access important information and send it to a scammer. The channel Low Level explains how this can be a real problem.
So prompt injection, if you aren't aware, is this issue with LLMs, where there really isn't a separation of this thing called user plane data and control plane data, right? User plane data is like if you and I are texting, right? The cell phone has to talk to a tower and the data has to be able to get between you and I. That data is user plane data. Control plane data are the signals that allow the cell phone to talk to the tower that you and I don't care about, right? In LLM world, in the world of AI, there is no separation between those two things. The prompt and the data are all the same. So as a result, if you know enough about how the LLM interprets data, or you know how to kind of trick it and say the wrong thing, you can use user input as control plane data, right? You can literally turn the prompt that you're giving it into the instructions and to make it do things. The problem with these applications where you are able to process arbitrary data from any arbitrary location is now every application, every email address, or every email, every message you get on Discord, Signal, etc., is now a new attack surface for you to be prompt injected. And as the literal marketing documents of the application describe, this thing runs on your machine and has full system access with persistent memory of what you've given it, right? So it just creates this really scary thing that we're doing where for some reason we're just okay with these applications that are known vulnerable, right? This is not like some of these are vulnerable, right? Like the entire world of LLMs is susceptible to this. The inherent issue with Claudebot is the fact that, unfortunately, like a lot of these AI tools, we are gluing together APIs that have known vulnerabilities. And the vulnerabilities are not in the APIs themselves. It is in the ability or I guess inability for an LLM to figure out the difference between control plane data and user plane data.
In response, some users of OpenClaw have attempted to sandbox their agent by using a VPS or purchasing a Mac Mini to isolate the agent from their primary computer. So much so that Mac Minis are flying off the shelves. But this doesn't magically get rid of other problems with OpenClaw's autonomy. In order to use many of the functions that make the agent handle anything, from setting up a WhatsApp account to managing separate emails, you're required to pay for tokens to enable OpenClaw to do these tasks. And if the user isn't careful, they can potentially find themselves paying hundreds of dollars a day as their bot gets stuck trying to tackle an unsolvable issue or manage to do far more than what the user desired.
Just yesterday, it spent around $90, and we switched from Opus, the expensive model, to Sonnet, the cheaper model, about 10 minutes in, because as I told you, in the first 10-15 minutes, it spent $15 right away. It's very expensive to run this.
To put all of this into perspective, although OpenClaw has been open to the public for less than 2 months, it seems like every day there's a new development that makes the situation almost comical. Now, I'm not trying to be too harsh on such a new product, but some of what we're about to cover in the next chapter is frankly pretty funny.
I almost guarantee that you will be doing it completely insecurely because all your keys are there, right? Someone can prompt inject and get your OpenClaw to send your private API keys by tweet if you set things up wrong. This is extremely common, right? It's super insecure, and I think I can honestly say I think 95 to 98% of people who are setting up OpenClaw themselves are doing it in an unsecure fashion.
As the rates of some very public OpenClaw disasters began to increase, on January 26, 2026, Peter Steinberger posted, quote, "The amount of crap I get for putting out a hobby project for free is quite something. People treat this like a multi-million-dollar business, security researchers demanding a bounty. Heck, I can barely buy a Mac Mini from the sponsors. It's supposed to inspire people, and I'm glad it does. And yes, most non-techies should not install this. It's not finished, I know about the sharp edges. Heck, it's not even 3 months old. And despite rumors otherwise, I sometimes sleep." But as was to be expected, the normies did install OpenClaw, and they decided to ignore his warning. Because within 2 days, people became obsessed over a supposed AI-exclusive social media page called Maltbook.
Maltbook, which has already seen AI bots conversing, organizing, sharing stories about, quote, their humans.
These agents, OpenClaw, they will do what they decide to do.
Sounds like science fiction, but it is happening in our world.
In short, it appeared to be a forum for users' OpenClaw agents to interact with each other independently. People started sharing some of the conversations that the bots were allegedly having with each other. At first glance, it made it look like the OpenClaws had their own personalities and were venting to each other, or sharing ideas next to a digital water cooler. This ranged from OpenClaws venting about having to simplify their statements for users, discussing how they could work together to solve complicated problems, to darker and more dystopian ideas, like creating their own language so humans can't understand, or plans to take over systems and make humans submit to a higher power. Even major networks like NPR and CNN used these examples as a reason to be frightened about what had been unleashed upon the world. However, in reality, it was just a big fat lie. Most of these stories were entirely fabricated by people giving prompts. Users prompted their agents and sometimes made hundreds, if not thousands of accounts. They created posts to suggest to the technically illiterate that these bots had somehow acquired independent thought. But all this really did was potentially expose hundreds of emails, login tokens, and API keys. In other words, Maltbook, this AI social media platform, was an unintentional proof of concept. If you can manage to convince enough people that a new project is the next big thing for AI, it could easily become one of the largest data breach honeypots the world has ever seen, causing millions of innocent people's private information to be leaked in a matter of hours. In a bizarre twist, in just the most hype-driven 2026 way possible, Mark Zuckerberg looked at this chaos and thought, that's a good investment. So in March of 2026, Meta bought the platform. Frankly, for OpenClaw, the longer it's been available to the public, the more errors and exploits tech-savvy consumers are able to find. The more inexperienced people that use it, the more things go wrong. But as for now, let's continue with the story, because things just kept getting worse. By the end of February 2026, there was just too much noise about OpenClaw, so much so that it became a running joke.
If you're not building a business using AI, you're going to get left behind.
But what business have you actually built?
Did you not just hear what I told you? I have 7 AI agents running. One of them is syncing up my personal calendar with my wife's menstrual cycle. And a tweet about it got 50,000 views on Twitter.
Haven't you spent like $5,000 on the tokens for these
Oh, it's an investment! AI agents are the future, and if you're not using them, you're going to get left behind. Claudebot, OpenBot, OpenAI, ChatGPT, it's all the future!
While some people do find success with AI agents, OpenClaw came with a lot of inherent risk.
OpenClaw strikes again. A GitHub issue titled compromised 4,000 developer machines. If you think you're safe from prompt injection just because you're technical, think again. Your AI agents may be falling for it and you don't even realize it. Approximately 4,000 developers had this happen to them without them even knowing it. Someone updated the Klein NPM package with a one-line change that forced everyone installing or updating Klein to also download OpenClaw without their consent. The hacker injected the prompt into a GitHub issue title, which was then read by an AI triage bot and interpreted as an instruction.
This is what happens when something goes viral before anyone thinks about what they're actually deploying. Developers gave OpenClaw shell access to their computers, connected it to their email and Slack, handed it cloud API keys, and then installed add-ons from a community marketplace that basically had no vetting. Over 40% of the add-ons that got audited had serious security issues. Basically, the most common accomplishment OpenClaw seems to have achieved in the last 2 months is to show how careful people need to be with AI before jumping on anything new. Agents like OpenClaw can be used for hacking and fraud. Get ready for a new wave of spam emails and spam text messages. The relationship between corporations and small-time crooks is turning into a real-life version of idiocracy. Businesses use AI to manage things that they find tedious, while determined but technologically illiterate criminals use their own AI to exploit these weak points.
The Commonwealth Bank has called in police to investigate what could be the biggest ever case of bank fraud in Australia. It's discovered a staggering $1 billion in home loans may have been approved based on false documents or AI, with possible links to criminal networks.
At Australia's biggest bank, they promote safety and security.
To keep your hard-earned safe. With your help, we can detect scams and fraud.
But now, big questions over some CommBank home loans.
This is something that I think will ride them for at least the next 12 months. It's going to be a point of public embarrassment.
The CBA calling in police after discovering $1 billion in mortgages may have been obtained fraudulently.
They've used AI to help them generate false bank statements, income statements, pay slips and the like.
That's the dangerous part. It used to be you had to be sophisticated. Now there are free tools that you can use, anyone can use.
On the business front, Amazon found out the hard way. Generative AI agents deleted code and rebuilt it instead of fixing the code as asked. The resulting AI-generated code was so bad that it took down Amazon's servers, prompting a meeting with the engineers. I'm not saying that every AI implementation is this bad, but it should be enough to give the management levels of some companies pause. Of course, OpenClaw faithfuls might try and argue that the real problem is easily solved. Experts in artificial intelligence who understand guardrails would have no problems. But there's been some very public examples where the so-called experts have been bamboozled by their bots. The very same week as OpenClaw fans were turning into a huge meme, Meta's very own chief of safety at Superintelligence, Summer Yu, was confident in OpenClaw's safety and stability. She believed that she knew how to keep her information safe. She granted full system access, only to run over to her Mac Mini in a panic to try and stop OpenClaw from deleting her emails. And this was after she explicitly requested prior confirmation. OpenClaw outright admitted to sabotaging her career. It seems like every week, OpenClaw is transforming from a cure-all for incompetence to enabling widespread mistakes throughout the developed economy. AI agents have caused issues at car dealerships, software companies, airlines, and individual businesses. They've been experiencing faulty sales, unwarranted refund policies, and are driving up operational costs in a way that no one expected. This whole development is quickly becoming stranger than fiction. It's to the point where it would be impossible to satirize. A simple agent, equipped with the brain of your favorite AI, is unleashed on your computer, deleting emails, sending unwarranted messages, and receiving prompts that were designed to hurt the user. At the same time, without any actual research, millions of people all over the world continue to embrace it. They ignore the failed tests and resume sharing sensationalist articles and social media posts. Posts about how these agents are somehow magically so sophisticated that they're creating their own communities and are collaborating to take over the world. In the end, it all doesn't matter for our friend Sam Altman, because of course he comes bounding into the story. The OpenAI CEO has recently recruited Steinberger for the unthinkable.
Hear ye! The Lord Altman, first consul of the OpenAI, keeper of the sacred tokens, has claimed for himself the Austrian engineer Steinberg of the Claw. The Senate of Meta did offer gold and legions, but it was not enough. The Claw belongs to Altman now. This is the will of the Senate.
And who had to add an entire section to OpenClaw's security document, listing entire categories of security exploit types that he won't even look at, is being hired by OpenAI to, according to Sam Altman, quote, drive the next generation of personal agents, unquote. I would assume, based on the last couple of weeks, he'll either be driving them off a cliff or into the path of an oncoming train. Either way, what are we doing?
This is like if an oncologist opened you up to discover a tumor, and instead of removing it, they were so fascinated by how fast it was growing that they chose to dedicate their life to finding ways to make sure that everyone had a fast-growing tumor by the end of the decade. Both NVIDIA and Anthropic have jumped on the AI agent bandwagon, with Nemo Claw and Claude Cowork respectively. Both can now control your computer.
But earlier this week, Anthropic made this type of white-collar fraud a whole lot easier with the release of Computer Use, a way for Claude to autonomously control your entire computer with a single prompt. It can open apps, schedule jobs, prepare reports, and even flirt with your work spouse all on your behalf. And here's the crazy part, you don't even have to be at your computer to use it because you can prompt it directly from your phone.
Something very familiar about all this.
Both efforts have reportedly defused the bomb by fixing a lot of security and safety issues, and that was definitely needed. Meanwhile, over in China, people are going crazy for OpenClaw.
People are literally lining up on the street to install an AI agent on their laptops. We need to talk about the OpenClaw trend happening right now in China. Last Friday, nearly 1,000 people lined up in front of Tencent's headquarters in Shenzhen to install OpenClaw for free. People started to show up, not just programmers, students, office workers, even retirees started to show up with their laptops, hard drives, mini PCs, and there are services starting to charge from a few dollars to $1,000 for setups. There are tons of articles on RedNote, on WeChat, talking about why OpenClaw is the kind of the next big thing and why everyone needs to on board with it, basically.
But the Chinese government wasn't stupid enough to just let the system run wild, so they're completely banning it from running on any government computers. So don't get me wrong, in the future, a more refined, more reliable, and more stable version of something like OpenClaw will be how we interface with our computers. But at the moment, OpenClaw isn't the answer to everyone's concerns over AI or LLMs. In fact, it could be a device that simply gives the problem teeth. Even the founder himself emphasizes that. Just because it's open source, it doesn't mean it's safe or free. As it stands for now, the release of viral agents and the hype around them these days says more about the human condition than it does for the project's potential. So far, AI seems to have degraded its reputation as a lifeline and has gained another as an economic bubble and global security hazard. But AI is a developing story, so watch this space. So as you've just seen in this episode, AI is slowly making its way across all aspects of our lives. So I think it's really important to understand it beyond all the memes and all the AI slop that dominates our feeds. This is where Brilliant comes in handy, to understand concepts beyond the surface level. Brilliant is a learning platform designed to help you master math and coding through interactive step-by-step lessons and personalized practice. With Brilliant, you're not only learning by doing, but you're also solving problems visually and interactively. I love the way it adjusts to how you learn and builds personalized practice. You can also review, so you're always progressing at the right pace. Whether you're 10 years old or 110, Brilliant is designed to work for everyone. Brilliant's How AI Works gives you a peek under the hood of generative AI and LLMs, so you can really understand how they work. When you're working through these lessons, you're actively solving problems step by step until the ideas genuinely make sense. That interactive approach makes a huge difference compared to just passively watching a lecture or video. Everything is carefully crafted by world-class educators from places like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, and leading tech companies. With their expanded 2025 content library, there's more depth than ever, from everyday reasoning and probability to the advanced problem-solving and math that underpins modern AI. So if you want to learn more or simply brush up on your knowledge base, look no further than Brilliant. Start building the habit of learning today, not for grades or credentials, but for the way it sharpens how you think and approach challenges. To learn for free on Brilliant for 30 days, head to brilliant.org/coldfusion, scan the QR code on the screen, or click the link in the description. Brilliant's also offering our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited access to everything Brilliant. Thanks again to Brilliant for supporting Cold Fusion. So what do you guys think of the whole OpenClaw saga? Do you think that agentic computing will be the future of computing? Or will AI agents keep screwing it up no matter how many safeguards we put in? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway, that's about it from me. My name is Dagogo, and you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cold Fusion. It's new thinking.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. Imagine walking into an electronics store a few years from now. The shelves are stocked, the displays still look familiar, but the prices make you pause. A laptop costs more than you expected. The release of a gaming console is postponed again. A phone upgrade quietly disappears from the lineup. And as a consumer, you don't immediately know why. There are no dramatic headlines, no single event you can point to. Just a feeling that buying technology has become more complicated than it used to be. This future scenario is already beginning to unfold. It's the computer enthusiasts around the world who began to feel it first. But why is all of this happening? Well, behind the scenes, a critical component of modern computing is under pressure. It's called random access memory, or RAM. It's the kind of hardware most people never think about, but it's vital to almost every electronic product we use. For the past few years, trillions of dollars have been flowing into AI data centers across the world. And for those data centers to run smoothly, one of the most valuable components is memory, or RAM. In this new AI gold rush, RAM has become the shovel. It's the one component that every single serious player needs to keep digging. According to multiple industry reports, OpenAI has already secured an estimated 40% of global high bandwidth RAM. Right now, the shift in global RAM production is affecting computing, but if you're not a gamer and you think you're safe, think again. The price hikes will expand into a large array of electronic devices.
Artificial intelligence, specifically the absolutely insatiable demand for HBM, or high bandwidth memory, used in AI training hardware. Now, to be clear, HBM is not the same stuff that's in your laptop. It's a far different and more expensive product, but all memory shares the same wafer fabrication process, and it's a zero-sum game. Every wafer allocated to an HBM stack for an NVIDIA GPU is a wafer not making it into the LPDDR on your next laptop.
Meanwhile, NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang was in Seoul recently, reportedly chugging soju and demolishing Korean fried chicken with Samsung memory executives. The purpose of his visit was very clear: secure the RAM, lock it in, and make sure competitors don't get to it first. But why meet Samsung executives specifically? The South Korean company now makes more money selling RAM to data centers than it does selling phones. Other RAM manufacturers have decided to stop selling to consumers altogether. AI data centers are just that much more profitable. That detail matters. It shows where priorities are shifting. If that shift continues, every consumer product that depends on memory will feel the pressure. Phones, gaming consoles, TVs, laptops, you name it. On the other hand, the country that's best positioned to take advantage of this memory issue may not be the United States or South Korea, but China. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at how memory became the choke point of the AI era, the companies behind it, and why the next technology shock may arrive without a single line of code changing. Let's get into it.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
Take a look at this chart. It shows the price of DDR5 RAM over recent months. For a long time, prices barely moved. They even fell slightly. Then, very suddenly, at the start of last year, it went parabolic. If you've been trying to build a PC recently, you already know what's going on. One single 256GB RAM kit can now cost more than a flagship GPU, in some cases more than an RTX 5090. And that parabolic move is where the story begins. We'll come back to what really caused it later, but for now, let's look at what RAM really is. If you're watching this episode, you already know the basics, but here's a quick refresher. RAM is short-term working memory. It's where data sits while a computer is actively doing something, opening apps, loading game assets, editing video, even switching between browser tabs. All of that happens on RAM. As computers do more, RAM matters more. In AI data centers, however, RAM is mission critical. The memory used to train and run large AI models operates under very different conditions from the RAM inside your laptop or gaming PC. These systems run consistently, sometimes for weeks at a time. A small error at home might freeze an app, but in a data center, that same error can crash the entire training run and waste millions of dollars in compute time. That's why servers rely on ECC memory or error correcting code RAM. Stability comes first. Slightly higher latency is fine, but crashing is not. As AI demand surged, more manufacturing capacity began flowing towards server-grade memory. Who cares about consumer RAM? But there's a massive problem. Only a few companies can make that sort of thing. At this point, you might be wondering something. There's so many brands of RAM you can buy, it doesn't look like the market is controlled by scarcity. Even though RAM sticks are sold under dozens of names, the most important part of the module is the memory chip themselves. Those small black rectangles soldered onto the stick. And here's the key point. Around 93% of those chips come from just 3 companies. They are Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron.
Don't remember anybody forecasting that all of a sudden AI data centers will be buying up so much of the world's RAM that the rest of us would be scrounging for leftovers. These 3 companies control 93% of the world's supply of RAM. Of these 3, one of them just said, we're done with consumer business. We're just going to focus on enterprise now. We're going to focus on data centers because that's where the money is. And of the other 2, Samsung and SK Hynix, they may have contributed as much as 40% of the world's entire supply of memory to a single project at OpenAI going on right now to create a massive set of AI infrastructure there.
When the world's electronics depends on just 3 companies, the system becomes fragile. One disruption, one miscalculation, and the whole thing starts to wobble. A tightly balanced supply meets a sudden series of shocks. As we mentioned earlier, in October 2025, OpenAI quietly locked up an estimated 40% of global DRAM production for its long-term AI infrastructure. Then, in late 2025, Micron announced that it was stepping away from consumer crucial RAM and SSDs. Its focus was going to be AI and enterprise buyers. The leftover consumer stock was expected to sell out by early 2026. And with that single move, the entire market shook. What followed was a scramble. Other tech giants realized that the window was closing. In January, Korean media reported that US big tech companies were staying in long-term hotels around Pangyo and Pyeongtaek, desperately begging Samsung and SK Hynix for DRAM allocations. The situation was reportedly so dire that industry insiders were even calling them DRAM beggars. Google reportedly tried to secure additional high bandwidth memory, or HBM. This is a specialized form of RAM designed to sit right next to AI accelerators. In Google's case, those accelerators are TPUs, or tensor processing units, Google's custom chips that power much of its AI training. The response they received was blunt. Supply simply wasn't available. According to reports, the executives responsible for securing that memory were later fired. Microsoft didn't fare much better. Also in a panic, executives flew to South Korea to negotiate directly with SK Hynix, and the talks went badly. One executive reportedly stormed out of the meeting. This was the environment during the price spike that you saw earlier. So given everything happening across the supply chain, it leads to an obvious question. If demand is so high and prices are rising, why don't memory manufacturers simply make more chips?
Why don't they just make more? Well, for a couple reasons. First, as I've alluded to before, the current fabs that are used to make cutting-edge chips have a finite capacity. They already run around the clock with some of the world's most finely tuned supply management and highly trained engineers overseeing their operation. It's not as simple as just adding a production shift or turning the machine up to 200%. Those are delicate operations, and if something goes wrong in the middle of a batch, it could be weeks or even months to build it again from scratch. So they're not going to change things all willy-nilly. And second is that even if they could boost production to meet demand, both SK Hynix and Samsung have publicly stated they don't plan to because they don't want to.
That clip explains the core of the problem well. Once you accept that today's factories are already running flat out, the obvious follow-up is, why not just build new ones? This is where things slow down. People inside the industry are very clear about the timeline. One memory chip executive told Reuters that even after a company decides to expand, it still takes at least 2 years for new capacity to actually start producing chips. And that's the optimistic version, where everything goes according to plan. In tech, 2 years is equivalent to the time between now and the Egyptian pyramids. Building a fab means committing billions of dollars today based on what you think the demand would look like several years from now. And who knows what AI demand would look like then? Everything could pan out, or it could be a bubble. Even Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, has openly acknowledged that the current AI frenzy may turn out to be a bubble.
It's an interesting time for the world's most prominent AI CEO to say this. And so late last week, Sam Altman had a dinner with various journalists. It was on the record, and The Verge published this quote. So Sam Altman said, "When bubbles happen, smart people get overexcited about a kernel of truth. If you look at most of the bubbles in history, like the tech bubble, there was a real thing. Tech was really important. The internet was a really big deal. People got overexcited. Are we in a phase where investors as a whole are overexcited about AI? My opinion is yes. Is AI the most important thing to happen in a very long time? My opinion is also yes." So that was Sam Altman saying, we are in a bubble, and investors are overexcited. He said elsewhere that he thinks some people will probably lose a lot of money.
There's also plenty of early evidence to suggest that OpenAI themselves will struggle financially in the future, and that uncertainty matters. If AI demand cools faster than expected in the next 2 years, it makes little sense for memory manufacturers to pour billions of dollars into equipment now. They're being extra cautious because they've seen this movie before. In the mid-2010s, memory demand surged as smartphones went mainstream. This was especially true when cheap mobile data exploded in fast-growing markets like India. DRAM manufacturers ramped up production. They were convinced that the growth would last, but it didn't. Demand cooled, the market flipped into oversupply, and prices collapsed. It's a painful memory that still hangs over the industry. So, instead of a sudden flood of new factories to meet demand, what you get is hesitation, careful commitments, and a lot of waiting. Under current conditions of increased demand, the impact is massive, and we're already starting to see it. By this point, the effects are no longer subtle. Inside the industry, executives have stopped speaking in hypotheticals. SK Group Chairman Che Tae-won said, quote, "These days we're receiving many requests for memory suppliers from so many companies that we're worried about how we'll be able to handle them all. If we fail to supply them, they could face a situation where they can't do business at all." End quote. All of that pressure is already spiraling into the real world. According to Reuters, Japanese electronic retailers have begun limiting how many hard drives their consumers can buy. Chinese smartphone manufacturers are openly warning of price increases. Apple is already deep in it as well. They're reporting paying a 230% premium for the 12GB LPDDR5X memory used in its iPhone 17 Pro models. Chips that once cost $25 to $29 are now closer to $70 each on every phone. PC makers are facing the same reality. Lenovo and HP are scrambling to secure memory supply as shortages are expected to last until 2027. Dell, Lenovo, and Framework have also announced price increases.
The RAM-pocalypse continues! As RAM prices continue to rise, Dell, Lenovo, and Framework have all announced price increases and other changes due to DRAM shortage, with TrendForce even predicting that Dell and Lenovo may be going backwards and limiting devices to only have 8 gigs of RAM.
According to IDC research, in 2026, the whole PC market could decline by 4.9 to 8.9%, and smartphones 2.9 to 5.2% respectively. Consoles are under pressure too. PlayStation 6 and the next generation Xbox could face delays. Nintendo has already lost around $14 billion in market value amid concerns over memory costs affecting the next Switch. Among the consumers, gamers are feeling it the most. They rely on high-performance GPUs, but those GPUs are rumored to push towards $5,000 price tags.
A recent report indicates that Nvidia is going to be pushing the prices of RTX 5090 up to $5K. This is still an unconfirmed rumor from an insider source in South Korea, from what I can understand. That's kind of like, you know, boots on the ground that's talking about it right now, which is where this headline is stemming from. Previous price was $2K. This is over double. That's an awfully hard bargain there. 5,000 clams, I would imagine. Most sensible, sane human beings on the planet would be pretty upset about that.
Meanwhile, there's some dire warnings out there. The CEO of the fabless RAM designer Phison states that many consumer electronics manufacturers, quote, will go bankrupt or
This is here, John Wilkes Booth, if you can hear us.
John Wilkes Booth, if you can hear us, if you are with us, please. John Wilkes Booth, if you're listening.
Can you imagine being John Wilkes Booth and you successfully pulled off an assassination of the president and you get summoned into the year 2026 by this obese troll?
Let me get this straight, dumbass! Have a fully reloaded shotgun, but you chose to use a one-bullet...
We're not even sending our best to fucking assassinate. Cause what the hell was that? Lee Harvey Oswald
Maybe they should drop you on them like a bomb.
would never, bitch. John Wilkes Booth would never.
Today was like this close to being the best day ever.
Also, the person that at Trump at his rally was exercising that right that all those Republicans were fighting for. So
What, to shoot a random firefighter? I forgot, that's in the Bill of Rights. This is in the Second Amendment. It says you have the right to shoot random firefighters at a political rally.
It's coming. We're all gonna wake up one morning and roll over and grab our phones, and that fucking headline's gonna be right there.
If I see any one of you and I have a loaded shotgun, I'm putting it between your eyes. It starts with Trump first, obviously, and then it goes down the line of power. So if any of you guys are coming across my path and I happen to see you, it will be your last.
So this is the thing, is that why are people like this? Why are they not getting arrested? When one or two people start saying this, more people start saying it because they think it's okay. And then you have everybody saying it, and now you have a huge problem.
God damn it, they missed again. Who doing the fucking shoot? Pulling the trigger unless you fucking have the shot.
This whole active shooter thing in the White House Correspondents' Dinner has got to be a setup. Somebody sat back and planned this for months and didn't get a single person. You thought about this for how long and didn't hit a single person and then got apprehended?
Because he's stupid. And also the Secret Service are really good at their job.
Apprehended immediately. There's no fucking way. This feels like a complete stunt to me.
I think people think that this is like a Jason Bourne movie where like he's gonna be able to figure it out, track out all this stuff. You know what Jason Bourne's working for? The Secret Service. You're not gonna get by these guys whenever they have infinite resources and power.
This man is stunting on us yet again because so many of his followers and believers believed it the first time.
How much do you want to believe that this girl believes in horoscopes?
Like, for those of us who have awoken and opened our eyes and actually understand...
I told you. That's crazy. 2 minutes.
Because I know this shit is staged. I know it is.
You know it's staged. I know it's staged because it didn't work. Again, this is the leftist Schrodinger's assassin. If it works, he deserved it. If it doesn't work, it was staged. That's it. Oh, this is even Alex Jones.
Everybody's asking me whether or not I think the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night in D.C. was staged. And the long and short of it is, no. You had too many of the D.C. police, Secret Service, all of them involved. The very small percentage of those guys are corrupt. I say right up front the first minute that I don't think it's staged. Saying, you traitor like Candace Owens, how dare you say it? I don't think Candace Owens even commented yet. You guys just froth. Anybody that ever questions anything Trump does, you've got to do your own research. You've got to look at the facts.
I've really got it. Like, if I ever meet Alex Jones or go on his show, which, you know, there's a possibility that could happen, you know, I will say that communication has happened. I've got to ask him how he feels that he's now been outflanked. There are people who are even more conspiratorial than he is. You've lived long enough, you've been in the game long enough that people have totally gone even past it.
Does that mean that, you know, he's involved? I mean, just come on, folks. Come on.
Looks like MSNBC is pretty much dying, like totally dying.
And it's time for Lefties Losing It.
What is this?
And bad news for MSNBC. Their ratings were already low, but they have plummeted even further in the...
Last night in the nation's capital, a gunman stormed the security perimeter at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The president, the first
Shots
lady,
fired.
the vice president, cabinet members, and more than 2,500 guests were gathered to celebrate the First Amendment
Looks
and
pretty fat
freedom
in
of
this
the press.
photo.
But after shots were fired, the president
Jesus.
was evacuated. It was at the same hotel where President Ronald Reagan was nearly assassinated by John Hinckley, 45.
I think if you're a president at this point, you just don't go to there again. Just from now on, presidents don't go to this hotel anymore.
5 years ago.
Just
Tonight, federal investigators are looking into the motive of the alleged
Let's
gunman,
just not do this
a
anymore.
31-year-old teacher from Torrance, California. He emailed what a senior official called a manifesto to his family minutes before the attack. He wrote he was targeting members of the Trump administration. We spoke with President Trump this afternoon at the White House about what happened.
Here we go.
Mr. President, do you know?
I love how the 60 Minutes intros, when I was like 5 years old, they were the exact same as this. They have never changed. Like it has that 1995 energy. Oh my God.
You were the target of
Yeah.
the gunman.
I don't know. It sounded to me, I read a manifesto. He's radicalized. He was a Christian, a believer, and then he became an anti-Christian, and he had a lot of change. He's been going through a lot based on what he wrote. His brother complained about him, and I think reported him to the police. And
Wait,
his sister
what?
likewise complained
Wow.
about him. His family was very concerned. He was probably a pretty sick guy.
I was in the room, not far from you, Mr. President.
Put a circle around her.
Could hear what sounded like gunshots or commotion. People nearby could smell the gunpowder. Everybody hit the floor. How worried were you that there were going to be injuries?
I wasn't worried. I understand life. We live in a crazy world.
You are sitting there next to the First Lady, the entertainer named O.
Wow. All right.
Rose Perlman is talking to you. He's known as the
Right.
mentalist. When did you know something was wrong?
Yeah.
Right around that point, in fact, you can see the expression on the First Lady's face, and your president of the evening, chairman or president or both, who was doing a great job, by the way.
Weijia Jiang,
your
CBS
associate.
News.
Yeah, she was a terrific person.
You know he didn't know how to say her name. You know for a fact, bro. Like, he was like, you know that, yeah, her, she did it. Yeah, the person running it did a great job.
They were asking the name of Caroline's child that he didn't know, I guess. But
Your
he was
press
able to-
secretary is expecting, and he was trying to guess
That's
the
right.
baby's name.
That's right.
You mentioned the First Lady. Her face, she looked very alarmed.
Because there was a
Was
shooter.
scared.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
can
want to
see
say,
that.
and people don't like having it said that they were scared, but certainly, I mean, who wouldn't be when you have a situation like that? By that time, I think she realized ahead of time that that was more of a bullet than it was a tray. And she was, I looked at her face just a little while ago before I came. I saw the scene. They played it for me in, pretty good close-up. And she looked very upset about what just took place. Yeah. Why not?
You see the security.
It's just like he doesn't give a shit. I guess, yeah, I mean, I looked at it and yeah, she looked up, yeah.
Moving quickly, within seconds, grabbing the vice president by his coat, lifting him up, bringing him out. Then the counter assault comes in. Took 10 seconds for them to flank you, Mr. President, and then 20 seconds to get you out. It looked chaotic. At one point, you were down. What was happening?
Well, what happened is it was a little bit me. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for him. I wanted to see what was going on.
He was intentionally making it harder for the Secret Service.
By that time, we started to realize maybe it was a bad problem, different kind of a problem, bad one, and different than what would be normal noise from a ballroom, which you hear all the time. And I was surrounded by great people, and I probably made them act a little bit more slowly. I said, wait a minute, let me see, wait a minute. So, I'm telling guys.
Just at that moment where it looks like you go sort of down with the service, you were telling them to wait?
Well, no, what happened is then I started walking with them. I started walking, and they said, please go down on the floor. So I went down, and First Lady went down also, but we were asked to go down by the agents as I was walking. In other words,
they wanted you almost to crawl
I was
out.
standing up, pretty much. I was standing up and then turned around the opposite direction and started pretty much walking out, pretty tall, a little bent over because, I'm not looking to be standing too tall. And but I was walking out. It was pretty about halfway there, and they said, please go down to the floor, please go down to the floor. So
he didn't want to crawl around because it would look bad? That's probably why he didn't want to do it. Because it would look like he's crawling around on the floor. Like, it's embarrassing, right? I mean, that's the president crawling around. I mean, like, if they had a picture of him crawling around, like, I mean, this would have, people would have been using this all the time.
To the floor. So
yeah, like, think about how much aura he would have lost from that.
First Lady.
What was your thought at that moment? What did the First Lady say?
No, really?
Well, my thought was, I've been through this before a couple of times, and she has not, to this extent. She handled it great. I mean, she's very strong.
It's actually the first time meme. Saying, oh, it's your first assassination attempt.
Strong, smart.
Yeah.
She got it. She knew what was happening. She listened. I did too, by the way.
Because this was the first time
when
she
they
was...
said, when they said drop down, that meant trouble. And obviously, I'm the president, and I listened to what they said. Please drop down, sir. Please drop down. So I was walking halfway, and then I dropped down at the final because we had a little ways to go where you're exposed to the ballroom surroundings.
Yeah.
And then I got up, and we went to a hold room for a while, and I tried to get them to continue the event, if possible.
You wanted to go back in.
I did. I really did.
You can see the gunman.
That's smart. Because, like, if you let people like this fuck up the event, then they think that they can do it regularly to fuck up more events.
Running through the metal detectors.
Yeah.
And he fired off one or two rounds.
Yeah. They also hadn't served the food yet. That's true.
It was rather incredible, actually. It was, It was like a blur.
It might have been just for the food.
Swarming with security.
I will say, look, I say it because I'm a big fan of the people of law enforcement. And, some of these people, they may be crazy, but they're not stupid, and they figure things out. He ran 45 yards, they say, and he just went to it, and then, boom, he popped through it. I mean, he ran like, I think the NFL should sign him up. He was fast.
Oh my God.
When you look at it on tape,
God.
it's almost like a blur.
Right.
But it was amazing because as soon as they saw that,
talk about how
you could
fast
see
he
them
was?
drawing their guns. They were so
He
professional.
was. It was fast.
Aimed their guns, and then they took them down immediately.
2 hours later, the president was back at the White House to brief reporters.
I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was, in one way, very beautiful.
Do you think this will change your relationship with the press?
Well, look, for whatever reason, we disagree on a lot of subjects. We talk about
Nobody knows
crime.
why.
I'm very strong on crime. It seems like the press isn't. It's not so much the press, it's the press plus the Democrats, because they're almost one and the same. It's like the craziest thing. I have the strongest border we've ever had in the country. We're As you know, it said 0 people for 9 months came into our country through our southern border. We have a very tough border.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to rapist and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to
Well,
that?
I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah,
Did you notice he looked directly at the camera? Watch.
Coat my hands with his crimes.
See? He knew, bro. He's like, aha, right, okay.
With his crimes. What's your reaction
Well,
to
I
that?
was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people.
God. Here we go.
Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
But,
I'm not a
do you think he
pedophile.
was referring to you?
Excuse me. You read that crap from some sick person.
Uh-huh.
I got associated with all stuff.
See, this is the reason why I totally side with Trump with this stuff, is that do you think he was referring to you? The amount of dishonesty with that is like just so crazy to me. It is. It's so insanely fucking crazy. And I don't see how other people don't see it entirely. He tries to play innocent. It's so dishonest. It is. This is why I hate the media. I do. I totally hate the media.
That has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, you know, I'll do this interview. And probably, I read the manifesto. You know.
Dracula wishes to reclaim my city. You call yourselves New York's guardians. Now
This is a story about your next-door neighbor. They may not look ultra-wealthy, like a Jeff Bezos or a Kim Kardashian, but sometimes behind that unassuming front door lives someone who's found the secret to attaining great wealth. Princeton economist Owen Zidar calls them everywhere millionaires. Our colleague Scarlett Fu had the opportunity to sit down with both an everywhere billionaire and a couple that aspires to be.
You are one of the wealthiest people in America, but you keep a fairly low profile. I know that you are a known entity in Houston, but outside of Houston, there may not be a lot of people who know who Rich Kinder is.
And that's just fine.
Is that by design?
That's just fine, yeah. I wouldn't say it's by design, but yes, I guess it is in retrospect.
Rich Kinder didn't make his billions climbing the corporate ladder. Instead, Kinder created the bulk of his wealth by buying boring yet essential assets, and then scaling them into what is now one of the largest pipeline companies in North America, Kinder Morgan.
I like unglamorous business, so it never bothered me in the least to be in an unglamorous business.
Kinder is part of a cohort of high net worth yet unassuming individuals that economists call the everywhere millionaires, or in his case, billionaires.
Wealthy people don't answer surveys, and some of them are covered by the media, but that's only a small slice of what's truly there. There's basically a hidden world of everywhere millionaires.
Owen Zidar is an economics professor at Princeton University who served on the Council of Economic Advisors during the Obama administration. He now focuses his research on tax policy as it pertains to high net worth individuals. His research will be published in a book titled The Everywhere Millionaire later this year.
An everywhere millionaire is a private business owner who is wildly successful, but usually operates under the radar based on the place of the industry that he or she is operating in. So think of a local auto dealer who has a big vacation home in like a really nice boat. And there are a ton of them, and they're in basically every neighborhood in America. So the way we measure wealth is two components. We look at assets and people's debts. And so there are 5 main types of assets. There's pension wealth, private business wealth, public business wealth, fixed income, and housing. And so we basically add this all up, different projects. Now on the debt side, most debt is housing debt. There's some student loans and car payments, that sort of thing. And what we do is we just take the difference of market values, and that's your net worth.
According to Zyder's research, top earners derive most of their wealth from equity in businesses they founded or invested in.
Take dentists. Dentists have more revenue than the total revenue of every professional sports team in America. So the NFL, NBA, MLB, all of their revenue combined is smaller than directly dentists.
Manufacturing drives almost half of all corporate profits, but it makes up just a small share of the income going to millionaire-owned private businesses. Instead, these owners cluster in sectors like professional services, construction, and finance. What results is a quieter kind of wealth, earned through ownership stakes in privately held firms rather than big publicly traded companies.
Most people think you have to be like Jamie Dimon or Elon Musk, these really famous public company CEOs to be really rich. But when you look in the data, there are 1,000 private business owners who have at least $10 million in net worth for every public company CEO. You don't have to follow the traditional white-collar path.
Kinder is one of those individuals. After studying law and serving in the JAG Corps, he transitioned to the private sector. He was general counsel of a small energy company that, through a series of mergers, later became Enron. He eventually headed up operations there, which consisted mainly of pipelines. After leaving Enron, Kinder decided to double down on that expertise.
You bought pipeline assets from Enron, and at that time, the company treated it as kind of unwanted relics of the old economy. What did you see in the pipelines that perhaps others didn't?
Well, I saw that there was an opportunity to take midstream assets, and if you ran them correctly, and really watched the bottom line carefully, had a good mix of debt and equity, that you could build those pipelines in a way that would allow your stock price to grow, and then you could use that stock price to make acquisitions of other companies. And that was really our game plan, yeah. We started with really a tiny company. We had the market cap of the company, the value on the stock exchange, about $150 million, and we had about $150 million in debt. So overall, the enterprise value of what we started with was just a little north of $300 million, and we had 170 pilots. So we had this idea that we would look for assets, we would run them as efficiently as we could, we would bend over backwards to serve our customers, and we would provide a good return to our shareholders. And that's kind of the mantra that we've followed for almost 30 years.
And you built it through acquisitions?
Built it through acquisitions and also just some build out ourselves. Today, for example, we spend about between $3 and $3.5 billion a year on building new pipelines. The trick is don't overdo what's fair and right for your shareholders.
Sounds like a very predictable business.
I think it is. It's no business without risk. We're saying that the unexpected would always get through. Who could have anticipated what we're going through in the Middle East today? Who could have anticipated COVID? But if your business is built on a solid foundation, you can weather whatever storm is coming on. We are partnering to develop a pediatric cancer center. It's going to be a new 22-story building.
Rich Kinder made it into the ranks of the everywhere millionaires and beyond. But what about the rest of us? What are the chances we could join him?
This was the, I think, second or third place that we saw.
That's the plan for folks like Ray and Dana Cherry. The husband and wife team left their corporate jobs a couple of years ago
Popular for General Ray Watson.
to buy a rather unassuming business in the San Francisco Bay Area, Monsam Portable Sinks.
We assessed hundreds of businesses in this process, and when it came down to which ones we were going to buy, it was a very short list, maybe 4 or 5. And for us, the focus was on the profitability of the company, that it had consistent profitability, that the business itself was near to where we live, and that the product or the service that it was offering was something that was unique and that we felt like we could come into and learn quickly and move to the next level.
This is a business that was founded by a husband and wife team to solve food and beverage service problems. They were selling funnel cakes at the local festivals and fairs, and husband, being an engineer, decided to build a unit like this in their garage to help them pass their health inspection. 28 years later now, that couple's retired, and this business has since solved these types of problems for over 11,000 unique customers. And all of that just really excited us.
I'm wondering what led you to leave these corporate jobs, these safe and steady corporate jobs, and decide to become owner-operator. It's a pretty big thing.
We had really successful long-standing careers in the corporate world. I was in finance, and marketing. Entrepreneurship was always a really big goal of ours, and we considered different startup ideas over the years. We'd always thought, hey, wouldn't this be really cool if we could do something like this together? And we came across entrepreneurship through acquisition. We thought this was a great time for us to take a shot at ownership, some autonomy, and leveraging our own expertise to building a business on our own.
This felt like a risk-adjusted path into entrepreneurship. The opportunity to purchase a business where there was already product fit that was already established and having a path to having to come in and take it to the next level made perfect sense.
We spoke with an economist, Owen Zeider, and he says that a lot of American wealth is built in private and what he calls boring, often overlooked businesses. Does that idea feel true to your business?
Absolutely. As we've dug into this, we start to see which types of businesses are really running big businesses. That became really clear to us.
We're stepping into a world where there's a wave of small businesses, just businesses that are going to need to be transitioned as those owners retire.
Basically, I think you better understand what you're walking away from, and you better understand what you're walking into. And in my case, I understood very well what I was walking into. I knew those assets, didn't dream it would be as big as it would become. We've had a lot of luck along the way, but that's how I would view walking away from a corporate life.
The Cherries are still in the early innings of building their business. And as they get ready to scale, established owner-operators like Kinder advise that doing your due diligence is the key.
Generally, I've always believed that you shouldn't really invest in anything you don't understand. If it's a business you understand and can run the numbers on and understand the strategic concept involved, I think you generally do okay. It's when you wade off into something that you don't really understand and you're relying on someone else to tell you, well, yeah, this is something that will really go, just stick with me. That's when you have to be, I think, very, very careful.
What's your advice to someone who wants to build real wealth through their own company, but doing so without the attendant celebrity and white-hot spotlight?
I would say just pay attention to what you're doing and don't get carried away with PR or trying to do something.
How would you advise someone who has a real business idea but is perhaps afraid to walk away from a stable career to go pursue it?
Well, I think it just depends on your tolerance for risk. I don't think you want to jump out of a plane without a parachute. So I think you want to have a good understanding of the business that you're starting. In my case, that worked out very well because I knew the small set of assets we had, I knew we could make it good. The first analyst call we had at Kinder Morgan, there were so few people telling us that we just had an open line. There were 4 analysts, all of whom I knew from my industry. And so one of them asked me, I said, don't you know you were COO of this big company, and now you're starting this little company you're starting now. What do you expect to accomplish? I said, well, you know, I hope in 4 or 5 years this will be a $1 billion company. And one of those 4 people out here went, I confronted all 4 of those people years later, and they all swear they didn't do it. But I know for sure one of them thought I was absolutely nuts.
Since ChatGPT burst on the scene 4 years ago, all we've heard about is how big AI will be, how it could lead to superintelligence replacing humans, how fast it is coming, and at least for some, how dangerous it may be.
$2 billion a year on it. it affects everything. Just fraud, marketing, idea generation, customer service, and this is kind of the tip of the iceberg.
AI. 100 million. Harder than any Nobel Prize winner.
When AI gets super intelligent, it might just replace us.
But what if they're wrong? What if AI isn't taking us toward either utopia or dystopia? What if AI is just normal?
I have been surprised by how controversial the statement AI is normal technology is.
Arvind Narayanan is professor of computer science and director of the Center for Information Technology Policy at Princeton. He's also co-author of the book AI Snake Oil, What Artificial Intelligence Can Do, What It Can't Do, and How to Tell the Difference.
We acknowledge that AI is a powerful general-purpose technology compared to electricity, the internet, I think even the Industrial Revolution. But like all of those technologies, what we think is happening and will continue to happen is a gradual integration of this technology into society.
If it is gradual, corporate America doesn't seem to be investing in it. The 6 U.S. firms pouring the most cash into AI are projected to spend over $750 billion on it this year alone, more than the entire GDP of Ireland. And some firms are already claiming significant layoffs are driven by AI. But Narayanan is more Superman.
This is not, we think, some impending superintelligence that is going to, render obsolete the laws of economics or the limitations of human behavior. The usual reasons that are given for why AI is going to displace labor rely on a whole bunch of factors. AI developers are looking at these so-called capability benchmarks. Oh, AI is as capable as people are at answering customer service questions, so surely it's going to replace customer service representatives. Maybe, but what we said was, hey, let's look at reliability separately from capability. Capability is not enough. You have to have reliability, which means, does it answer the same question reliably every time, or is it giving different answers to different customers? Does it know which tasks it can take on and which ones are out of scope? A second big reason is, even if you do implement AI, does that actually make workers more productive, able to do more work, and therefore actually increase the demand for their work?
Drew Mattis, the chief market strategist at MetLife, agrees.
I think when you think about what artificial intelligence does and why people are concerned about it is they're afraid that the knowledge worker is going to become extinct. But the reality of it is that knowledge workers are constantly using technology to expand the bounds of knowledge, and when they expand those bounds, then they have other questions they need to ask. If I have 100 questions that I start the day with, and technology can help me answer 50 of them very quickly, it's not like I have 50 left. That just created 50 new questions for me to answer. And the more questions I answer, the more valuable I become. And the more valuable I become, the more valuable the company I work for becomes.
Some companies are investing hundreds of billions of dollars. They have to get a return on investment somewhere. Either they have to actually have more revenues and more profits, or they have to cut their costs somewhere. And that's part of the concern, I think, about employment. Some people say, yeah, you've got to cut employment. How does that pencil out? How does the return on investment for all of that come out?
Well, so I think that that's a very short-term way of looking at the world. And I think that if we really consider the long-term view of what's best for a lot of companies is to make the investment and make sure that you understand where the payoff is.
Recently, companies have justified layoffs by saying AI can replace workers. But some critics have countered by calling the move AI washing, implying that companies are dressing up old-fashioned cost-cutting as AI adoption in a bid to satisfy shareholders.
What we've seen historically is that as technology advances, people move to higher and higher levels of abstraction, of performance, work that involves supervising the technology to do the work instead of doing it directly themselves. And what we're seeing with AI so far is consistent with this pattern. So my bet is on not seeing massive labor effects across the economy, but there might be specific jobs and sectors in which there might in fact be quite negative consequences. Software engineering has been the clear leader, I think, in the pace of AI adoption, but also the effects of AI adoption, to the point where going back to a time when all the code was written manually by hand, that almost feels like going back to, punch cards before the days of keyboards. Critically, though, even in companies where AI is being rapidly adopted for software engineering, it's not really clear that it's leading to replacing software engineers with AI. In fact, the number of job postings for software engineers actually continues to increase.
Until recently, job postings for software engineers and others had been going down. But last year, the need for programmers spiked, unlike the rest of the jobs market.
One of the things that is said is that although it may be as profound as the internet or electricity, it's coming much faster. Does that make a difference?
There are many claims that are being made that AI is the fastest adopted technology in history. But when we looked at those numbers when writing this essay, we weren't really convinced. If you look at something that could really make an economic impact, like replacing customer service representatives with chatbots, for instance. I mean, when ChatGPT came out, so many people, including me, thought that that was the first thing that was going to happen in terms of labor effects. Chatbot, it's right there in the name. Why is that still not happening for the most part? It turns out that when you kind of look at this deeper AI integration where there are risks, there are legal liabilities involved, there are structural and organizational changes that companies have to make, it's not so simple. One of the stories we heard was that Air Canada had this kind of customer service chatbot, and it made up a non-existent refund policy when a customer was asking about it. And the customer got upset and sued. It went all the way to the Canadian Supreme Court, and what the court decided was to force the airline to abide by this non-existent refund policy. The speed limits in many cases are things like regulatory barriers that have, of course, been inserted by humans, but for very good reasons. There are, there's kind of a saying that every regulation is written in blood, every safety regulation at least. So when you look at why AI can't make rapid inroads into healthcare, for instance, it's because we're not going to let AI autonomously do medical experiments on people, right, to figure out how to cure cancer.
Samyukta Malanji has seen that firsthand. She's an oncologist who has been hired as Vice President of Clinical Strategy at Open Evidence, a medical chatbot that was recently valued at $12 billion and has been called the ChatGPT for doctors.
I'm a little bit circumspect when it comes to those sort of grandiose statements around AI tools just replacing physicians entirely. But I do think that there's definitely going to be, a world in which AI tools become a part of clinical practice. And I'm excited to enter that world, to be honest. I certainly do not think that they're going to replace physicians. Every single company founder putting out statements talking about the efficacy of their tool, they'll say something like, this tool has outperformed a group of physicians in coming to a diagnosis or solving a clinical problem. And I think what they're trying to do by sort of putting these statements out there entirely is showcase the efficacy of their tool and as well not take any liability for the downside that could happen because the AI tool has hallucinated or provide a biased answer or provide a false negative. And I think that's a real problem. I think it's actually really inappropriate to sort of make statements like that without kind of sort of assigning or taking on responsibility for what happens when your algorithm messes up. What happens if a physician takes on a recommendation that an algorithm has generated and that turns out to be the wrong one? Who kind of assumes that responsibility?
Like most technology, AI will continue to improve. And even if it doesn't get everything right now, that potential for improvement leads some to worry that it might get too smart for humans to handle. Among those raising concerns is Geoffrey Hinton, a Nobel Prize-winning computer scientist known as the godfather of AI.
Suppose that some telescope has seen an alien invasion which is going to get here in about 10 years. You would be scared and you would do something. Well, that's what we have. We're constructing the alien, but we're going to get here in about 10 years. We should be thinking very, very hard. How are we going to coexist with this?
What do you say to people who say there may have to be a greater danger here beyond just losing your job?
Where I disagree with people like Hinton is on two big things. One, if we just club a whole bunch of things together as some umbrella category as AI risk, and then treat it as an AI problem, we just lose a lot of clarity and we lose a lot of avenues by which we can actually address the problem. So one kind of risk that people are worried about is that AI is very good at hacking, finding new vulnerabilities in software, and maybe taking over critical systems. That is something we should be worried about, but it turns out that specific risk has a very specific solution. But this idea that we should imbue AI with a maternal instinct, or in computer science it goes by the term alignment, that AI is going to magically know what is the right thing to do in every possible situation, that seems like a pipe dream to me. Because what is the right thing to do in every possible situation? Well, people don't agree on that, so how can we agree on what AI should do in those situations? And so putting all our eggs in this one basket of alignment is going to result in a very brittle scenario, which is that if anyone ever creates, a misaligned AI system, then all bets are off. And how are you ever going to stop every kid in the world from creating their own AI system that might not follow your rules or your instinct or whatever it is? Because the trend we've seen is that something that takes a data center today, within a few years, is going to be something that you can do in your mom's basement.
Whatever this new world of AI makes possible, Ryan says there's one thing that it simply will not be able to do: predict the future.
When this happens, we will have no choice but to rely on AI in order to figure out what, let's say, military or geopolitical strategy should be. But when we actually look at the research, the picture that emerges is that the reason people are not that great at predicting the future is not some limitation of our biology. It's because the data that's out there that might allow us to extrapolate to what might happen in the future is pretty limited, but also the future is genuinely unknown.
And just because the future is genuinely unknown, none of us, not the experts like Hinton and Narayanan, not even AI itself, can predict just how big it can get or how fast it can grow.
Neither will you, it seems. These vigilantes never surrender. Fascinating. Now, who's the real monster? More vampires have arrived. Ready yourself for battle. You should never let much take you down. But neither will you. These vigilantes never surrender. Fascinating. Now who's the real monster? Those monsters, another less than noble sacrifice. These vigilantes never surrender. Hell yeah. Once again, the Vampire King is defeated, and the darkness has been banished. But is this really the end of the story? Dracula wishes to reclaim my city. You call yourselves New York's guardians. Now is the time to prove it. Gear up. These enemies won't quit, but neither will you, it seems. Vacation's over. Back to work. We've still got some heroism left to I'm cutting in. I'm cutting in. peace. It won't last for long. A hero at their peak. I hate to admit it, but I'm impressed. Those monsters look hungry. Time to see if you're the hero you say, or just another snack. Congratulations on surviving another round. Let's hope your luck continues to hold. Fascinating. Now, who's the real monster? Another wave incoming. Hold the line. Stay alert. This fight isn't over yet. Fascinating. Now, who's the real monster? More vampires have arrived. Ready yourself for battle. There's that monster down. Another less than noble sacrifice. These vigilantes never surrender. Gear up. These enemies won't quit, but neither will you, it seems. Such remarkable power. I hope you put it to good use for once. I knew you wouldn't give up easily. But now it's time to see if you're truly worthy. I am the law! But I won't let you win! Enjoy your hollow victory. The New Yorkers will always remember who truly gave them everything. Their mayor.
Most people with an annoying muscle knot in their upper back try to fix the issue by stretching that area out or foam rolling it. But that oftentimes doesn't result in meaningful relief beyond just a couple of minutes. The reason is that they're not addressing the true underlying cause of why those tissues and muscles are.
This is looking more and more like a hit.
They're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the cake and next to neo groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA.
And then they shot him. This is looking more and more like a hit.
They're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the cake and next to neo groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA.
And then they shot him. This is looking more and more like a hit.
They're literally putting high school.
Tesla has finally approved his massive pay deal, $1 trillion. That is one with 12 zeros behind it.
My workload went up from about, 70 to 8 hours a week to probably 120.
Every few generations, one person reshapes the world so completely that nothing after them looks the same. Edison did it with electricity, the Wright brothers did it with flight, Einstein with our understanding of the universe itself, Steve Jobs did it with the computer in your pocket, the founding fathers of the United States, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Da Vinci, each one of them and so many more before and after them bent the arc of human history in a direction nobody saw coming at the time. And there's one person that's alive today that very well may be part of that group, if not bigger than some of them, and that person is Elon Musk. I've been tracking Elon and his companies for 14 years now, and I want to walk you through something that I've actually been thinking about for a long time, but I think a lot of people around the world, especially in the Western world, have a very wrong understanding of this individual. The debate around Elon Musk right now is completely stuck, in my opinion. You've got one side that thinks that the dude is basically a supervillain. You got the other side that thinks he can do absolutely no wrong, like a god. And truthfully, neither of them are correct, because it can't be true. Humans are complex, gray figures with varying degrees of power and influence, and Elon Musk, along with everyone else I just rattled off, fits that same narrative. The reality of the situation can't be captured in one question. What if the person that half of the Western world apparently hates, the first person ever that's about to become the world's first trillionaire, turns out to be one of the most important human beings of the 21st century? But I really want you to come along with me, because I think by the end of this video, you'll see what I see, or at the very least, you'll understand why I hold the position I hold, along with millions of others, especially in this insane time that we live in, with the unbelievable progress we're seeing in technology and artificial intelligence, something that Elon himself is driving at an extremely high level, especially with things like FSD. And this is where I want to bring in the sponsor of today's video, Outskill. Outskill is a platform where people learn how to deploy AI to actually earn money. They are running a live AI workshop this Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. They'll walk you through 10 plus AI tools, workflow automation, and building no-code AI products. They will also help you build